Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 33 of the Friday Nightmares podcast. And today we will be going to prom. I am your host, Mr. Smokeshow Crawford, coming to you from Swartz Creek, Waterdown, Canada, Michigan, Ontario, United States, Africa.
Africa.
Yes, Africa. And my date for the prom today is the one and only
Heather Powell coming to you from Waterdown, Ontario, Canada, who's only going to prom with Scott if he promises pot, booze, and booty. Unless I am getting
spades.
All of those three things, I'm not going to prom. But after prom for the booty, because I don't want my hair to get messed up, as we've learned from our prom movies that we watched, hair is extremely important in all of these films.
Well, to an extent, I guess.
But they did. Did you not hear all the chicks in all these films at some point talk about their hair? It was the funniest shit ever.
But there is one movie where they jump right in the pool while they're dressed in their prom outfit, and I'm going, that woman just spent like almost $80 on her hair, and she just jumped in the pool.
That is true. That is true. You make a point. So anyway, we are talking about prom, which is a big deal in the United States. In Canada, we have something called semi-formals, which usually happen in February, March. And then we have graduation dances. So you don't have I think prom you have every year, and you can go as like a freshman, a junior.
No, it's at least at my school, and I believe a couple others, prom starts our junior and senior years.
Okay, so only juniors and seniors can go. So for our semi-formals, we didn't call it junior and senior or sophomore, any of that shit. We just called it grade 10, 9, 11, 12. And the grade 12s would get first crack at tickets, and then the grade 11s would for semi-formals. And then the grade 12s or OACs had a graduation dance, which is where there was a full meal and a dance afterwards. So
yeah, that's pretty much prom.
Funny story, where I had my graduation dance, I had my first wedding.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was good. It was great. Like I was, I had a much better time at my wedding. The marriage sucked, but the wedding was fucking jokes. It was pretty fucking awesome. But anyway, it was a really nice hall because it was right by our high school, and it was one of those like elite halls. Like, when you like live in a town and there's always the halls that people are like, oh, that hall. I don't know if you have that.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So that's where we had our graduation, and it was a pretty big deal. And we had some pretty awesome semi-formals, but they were just dances. There wasn't dinner or anything attached to it. It was just dances.
And it sounds like your semi-formals were basically our homecoming dances.
Probably. Yeah. And
we had those every year.
We took limos there. I would always organize a limo. I was the one that did that, and we would all meet at my house and we would all take the limo. And surprisingly enough, I didn't really drink at prom. I think I was afraid of getting in trouble, and I didn't really drink, and I didn't go anywhere afterwards for a prom party except for, I think, graduation. I did.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, because I think it's the same thing for me. I think I smoked down before I went into prom, but I never drank. And then I had my date for both proms was my girlfriend for the couple of years, and her parents wanted her home like before the prom even ended, so we never got to go to any like after prom party or anything like that.
Yeah, right. Like I went to a couple of boyfriends' prom or semi-formals. I shouldn't say prom, semi-formals. And they were fine. Like I think there was one where I did drink, maybe because he was a big drinker, but I was always so afraid of doing it my own because I didn't want to get caught and get in trouble because they made a real big deal. And I was still a pretty good kid. Like I drank on the weekends and shit, but I didn't want to cross the line, if you get what I'm putting down.
Oh, I get what you're putting down.
Right. So I kind of followed the rules a little bit, but prom is such a fucking big deal. And I was surprised watching some of these movies. One of them particularly was just god awful, but the other ones, like they really do capture how like it seems like this is a big event, the dress, the date, who's taking you, prom proposals, and all that other shit that's now become a thing. Like, did you ever with your girlfriend, was it just assumed, or you're like, hey, we're going? Like,
yeah, because my girlfriend at the time went to a different school than I did. So basically, like we only seen each other after school, and I was just like, hey, prom's coming up, you want to go? Yeah. Like it wasn't like I've seen in person, like, people asking others in our school to go to prom with them and stuff like that. And some people went elaborate with it and like, had like friends holding signs, and almost kind of like someone proposing to get married, almost in a way, like just having friends holding signs saying, would you go to prom with me? And shit like that. Like I've seen that in person, but yeah, for me it wasn't because like the girl I was going with at the time was from a completely different school.
Well, yeah, she was your girlfriend, and I guess you probably assumed she was going to want to go with you anyway.
Yeah, it was just I had to get the parents' permission, and the parents hated me, so that was always fun.
Oh man, that's tough. I don't know why they would hate you. Like you would be the kind of person that they would like.
Well, the older me, yes. Teenage me looked like stoner goth kid trying to like troublemaker.
But you probably weren't a troublemaker, were you?
Not really. I mean, obviously like party guy, but not really. But the parents were super Christian, religious type.
I see. So you were the bad boy.
Yeah, and plus I smoked.
I never thought you and bad boy would ever.
Right. Well, I was gonna say. Plus, I was like a smoker back then, so I was like smoking cigarettes at like the age of like 17.
Oh,
like,
you so badass.
Yeah, I was the cool kid.
You were, right? And did you get your date a corsage?
Oh yeah, yep. I got her the corsage and like pretty much did the whole shebang. Like I think the first prom, I ended up borrowing my stepdad's '66 Buick Riviera. So old school hot rod, all done up, cherry red, beautiful car. And the funny thing is, this is before GPS, and this was in a place I had never been before, and was almost an hour away from where I lived.
So why did they book your prom so far away?
I have no freaking idea. And a couple of my friends knew how to get out there, so we pretty much followed them the whole way out there. And then since I had to take her home early, I had to leave before them, and I had to try finding my way home. We ended up getting lost for about 2 hours, driving back roads, not knowing where the hell I was.
Oh yeah, you got lost for about 2 hours. High five, high five.
High five, high five. Oh, but her parents were pissed because she got home like an hour and a half late because we couldn't
I bet they were pissed, and they were, and then she told them you guys got lost down back roads, and I'm sure that just because we all know the most important thing to a young girl is her virginity. Absolutely, we must make sure that is kept intact. There was thick sarcasm attached to that, just so we're clear.
Yeah, you like it thick. Wait,
Fuck.
what?
I just so good. This whole anyway. The whole sex thing when you're teenagers just gets on my nerves, but that's not what we're talking about. Though I guess prom and getting banged does kind of go hand in hand. I remember the first semi-formal I went and bought this really like sexy dress. It was this red short thing that like covered my boobs, obviously, because
really,
yeah, I was just like sticking my tits out, like a stripper. And then it went down to just above my knee, and then was covered with black lace. So it had black lace on the shoulders. I'm going to share the prom pictures, much like Scott is. We're going to share our semi-formal or prom pictures to the page.
Oh God, I'm so sorry, everybody.
So anyway, I went with my boyfriend at the time, who I had been dating, my first boyfriend, who I had been dating for I think like 2 or 3 months at the time, and he bought me this beautiful red corsage. Like it was actually really, really nice. And I got him a boutonniere because my mom's like, you need to get him a boutonniere. I'm like, I do? She's like, yeah. So she took me to the florist. I got my hair done and all that kind of stuff. And we're at semi-formal and we're dancing. And he tells me that he loves me. And I said to him, you're special to me. Legit, Sky.
Oh, that is great.
Because like I didn't know what to say. So
was that like one of your first serious boyfriends?
Oh yeah. Like, and I really liked him, just so we're clear. And I still like him. He's actually a really good dude. He's married with 3 boys, all have red hair just like him. God bless him and his wife. Oh, it must be a lot of work. But it was, it was funny because we were together after that for another 6 months, and he was the guy that I lost my virginity to. And he lost his virginity to me too, actually. We were both
nice. Aww.
Yeah. And he was a really nice dude. He really was. And he handled that really well. Like, I think he just knew that I was caught off guard and he wasn't offended, which I thought was pretty mature to not like, because really, like, someone tells you that they love you and you're like, you're special to me, like that's kind of shitty, right? But
in the same way, when you say you're special to me, it basically means I love you.
It is, right? And I do. And I, to what I could at 16 years old, I absolutely did. I think love has different degrees of love. I think your love for somebody grows as you get more mature. But I think at that age, of course, I loved him. There was a couple boyfriends that I definitely fell head over heels for. Him and a guy I dated in grade 12 out of my high school dating, because I did date a lot in high school, would have been the 2 dudes I think I was like in love with, you could say. And I went with my ex-boyfriend to his grad and semi-formal, and we were dancing at a semi-formal in grade 12. And I had a teacher come up to us and tell us to leave some room for the Holy Spirit because I was grinding too hard on him.
Oh, that is great. So you were like that even back then.
Oh yeah, nothing's changed, Scotty. Like nothing's changed. I would probably say to you, my behavior is about the same. Only I'm more confident now. That's the only thing that's changed is I'm more confident and I give less fucks. So I've just gotten more like, sure, you want to do it at the back of the bar? Let's go to the fucking back of the bar. Don't be running your mouth if you're not going to put out like that. Or like, I'd be like, hey, yeah, I'll take you home. Yeah, you want to go? All right, let's go. And they're like, oh, I don't know now. It's great. And I think that's the problem. I've become super like, all right, cool, let's do it. And people are like, oh,
right, like, oh, I don't know, I did not expect this reaction.
Like I don't have time for this shit. It's like my girlfriends will get intimidated if like a man stares at them. I just stare back.
Right.
I love it. I think it's great. Like I'll be driving, I'll feel dudes like eyes on me, and I just slowly turn my head and I stare right back. And we I think it's fun. It's great.
Oh, you crack me
I don't
up.
think it offensive either. But some dude's checking me out or chick, I'm like, hey, thanks. It doesn't bother me. Yet again, it doesn't bother me. I respect that it may bother other people. For me, it doesn't bother me at all. But yeah, no, semi-formals and proms. It was good times. I'm excited to go over these movies and to like explore other people's prom stories. So I guess you only went to 2, you're saying. You didn't go any more than that?
Nope, I did go to a couple more. Let's see. I think I actually brought this. I might have brought this up on the show, or it might have been on our break, but there was my 2 proms, junior and senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Then after I got out of high school, no, this is a similar story to what I brought up before. But yeah, after I graduated and my girlfriend and I broke up, I took her twin sister asked me to prom, to their prom.
Like the same one that you went to the movies with?
Yes.
You scoundrel. You're such a scoundrel, Scotty.
Oh, I mean, well, I was asked.
I think we need to do a picture of you with 2 twins on each arm. Like a twin on one arm, a twin on the other. Darren, you're on it.
I'm thinking Darren can pull that off. And I actually think I might actually have the prom pictures from me with both of the sisters.
You are such a scoundrel. Honestly, Scotty. I don't know. Do ladies know about what the player that you are?
Hey, can't hate the player. You gotta hate the game.
Gotta hate the game. So why don't we break into our 2021 movies? Look, Scott, I'm getting better at saying 2021.
I'm so proud of you.
2020 all the time. Now, I don't know. Have you seen any of these movies or?
Actually, every movie that I added did not show up on the list there, so I'll have to use my phone.
Oh, you did add some.
Yeah, I added them and they just didn't save for some reason.
Okay. Did you want to go with one of yours first, or do you want me to just start with what we have here and we'll just go back and forth?
You go ahead because I gotta pull my list up.
Yeah, you pull it up.
Yeah.
All right. So the first one we're going to talk about is Built to Kill. It's an anthology. It's about people. The tagline is it's a edgy, hyper stylish horror anthology about people pushed, pulled, and driven to kill. So it has a couple of different short stories in it. I recommended it to Brandon Orlick from the Exploding Heads podcast, and he hated it a lot. I personally didn't hate it. I thought it was okay. I really like anthologies though. Maybe that's why. The stories are fine. There really isn't a wraparound. It's just a collection of really short stories. It kind of reminds me of something that you would see at a film festival where they kind of submit a various of short films. It's international directors. It's available on Amazon Prime Video and Amazon Video too. So if you have Prime, you get it. If you don't have Prime, you can rent it. I would say if you really like anthologies, check this one out. Only if you really like anthologies. If you don't bother. I don't think you're really gonna miss anything. A $1.99, $2.99 rental is fair.
Yeah, this is one I remember you were talking about. If I get a chance, I will definitely have to check this out, just out of curiosity. Plus, it's anthologies, and I love anthologies.
Well, and we could do an anthology award, right?
Yeah.
So this may, depending what other anthologies come out this year, this may be a pretty strong contender. Because I said I enjoyed it, right? Yet again,
right.
I'm telling people that they may not like it because Brandon disliked it so much. It's made me kind of second guess. how good it is. But
well,
I honestly found it enjoyable.
He also disliked Mortuary Collection, so yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. So maybe he just only likes anthologies from the 70s.
Right.
So yeah. But anyway, what you watched this one? I haven't seen this one, and I kind of wasn't sure whether I should or not. So
yep. Yeah. So the next one that I watched is The Boys of County Hell, which is released on Shudder, so it's a Shudder exclusive. I'm not sure if it's on Canadian Shudder, but hopefully it is. Like, because I think this one is worth a watch. It's a horror comedy that's light on the comedy, but it's an Irish vampire story, and I found this to be like a very entertaining movie. Like, it's not going to be like top 10 material for most people, but I found the acting to be good. I found the kills to be good. The comedy, when it's there, hits and actually made me chuckle quite a few times. Like, the closest thing I can think of is Shaun of the Dead, like as a comparison. But Shaun of the Dead, I feel, has a little more comedy. But where I feel the comedy comes from the characters and the dialogue they say, and not like the slapsticky style humor. And so I think it works really well that way, because when the horror hits, it's actually horror, and it's kind of like actually, scary for a horror film. But I recommend this one. I found it to be very entertaining, and I think it's worth checking out, especially if you dig like horror comedies.
Well, and it's on Shudder, right? So it's a free watch on Shudder if you have Shudder.
Yes.
Right. So I haven't checked to see if it's available Shudder Canada. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. It probably is. I believe it's also available on Shudder Prime as well. So for those of the people who have just the Shudder Prime option, which I don't really know if I dig that option, because you kind of don't get everything that Shudder has, right? You only get select.
Yeah, it's like the selection from the Prime version is very like limited compared to what's actually on the app. It's really weird.
I'm just double checking here. Oh, it's not coming up when I'm searching it. Is that the name? The Boys of Country Hell?
Boys of County Hell.
County Hell. Oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. Okay. County Hell. Let's see here. No, still not coming up for me. Maybe we don't have it on Canadian Shudder. Maybe it's just an American Shudder thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
Shudder really hasn't been hitting it out of the park yet with their exclusive. Like, they've all been okay.
Yep, I think my favorite one of theirs so far was the Indonesian horror film that we watched earlier that I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, you know what? That's funny. I was thinking the same one, The Queen of Black Magic.
Yes, Queen of Black Magic.
Yeah.
I think that's been the best one so far, and that was early on.
Yeah, I thought that one was really good too. Like, the power was fine, but I agree very much with Tim Davis's and Daniel Luffy's review off of Horror for Dummies. Yes. I listened to their Raw episode, which, by the way, if you're not listening to Horror for Dummies, please check them out. They're an awesome Aussie podcast, and they have something for everyone now with their different channels on YouTube, as well as their different show themes. And I think they made some really valid points about the power. Like, not a bad movie, absolutely not a bad film, but like very like... like, I agree with Daniel. He's like, did we have to have this storyline? And I'm like, yes. Yeah, like it's, sometimes you're like, okay, I fucking get it. And I don't mean to be insensitive to what the topic is. But yeah, like, it's just, I feel like, you know what? I'm sure good things are left to come for Shudder. I'm sure it's just the beginning. We're only in May 1st. We have lots of time to go, and something will knock our socks off for sure.
Yep, I hope so.
But right now, Netflix with what was it? All My Friends Are Dead is probably one of my favorite. I think All My Friends Are Dead right now is my current favorite release between the major popular services.
Oh, so,
nice. Between Netflix Prime and Shudder, All My Friends Are Dead right now is my favorite that's available through those services.
Nice.
I just think. And Slack is up there too on Shudder as well. I really like Slack, which is funny. 2 horror comedies are the ones that I prefer the most right now.
Well, I'll say you do dig a lot of the horror comedies, though. Like a lot of the humor really hits with you. Because I'm a child.
It's true. All right. So the next one we're going to talk about is The Inheritance. This is an uncorked film, and it's an uncorked film. So if you've seen uncorked films, you know what you're walking into here. It's an 87-minute runtime. A woman's inheritance leaves her to Eastern Europe. Like, they don't even give the fucking country, just Eastern Europe. To
just like Africa.
Fucking like Africa. Undercover a dark and disturbing family secret. The family secret is not a shock. Okay, none of this movie was a shock. I will give it credit. The acting was probably better than other films that Uncorked has picked up. This was definitely one of the more like well acted, artsy films that Uncorked has picked up. Definitely had more money put into it. All those things there, but it's very much a tale that we've seen before. Woman goes to house that she inherited, dark family secret, ghosts, yada yada yada. Like it's it's nothing that's gonna make you be like, woo! Do I recommend it? If you really dig ghost stories a lot, if you really like slow burns, yes, but you really have to like ghost stories, very heavy dialogue, and slow burns. If those are for you, then I would say this would be worth a $2.99 or $3.99 rental. If not, skip this one. It's not available anywhere yet, it says on Letterboxd, but it will probably be dropping on YouTube, Google Play, iTunes, the usual suspects.
All right. And
I don't think this will be picked up by Shudder or any other streaming services personally, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say, and would you recommend I watch this for our Uncorked Awards?
No, that's a good question. Yeah, probably.
All right.
Yeah, because the acting is actually pretty good.
Okay.
And you may like it more than I did. Like I now, mind you, I saw it a little while ago too. So
right.
Not a bad film. Not a bad film at all. It's just the plot lines kind of. I'm finding we're seeing a lot of recycling of plot lines.
Yes.
Are you noticing that too?
Yeah, well, and you'll notice that is a trend. Like when something, especially when there is a mainstream movie that hits that popularity, then a lot of the lower budgets kind of copy that formula.
Yeah.
And they'll do it until it's beaten to death, and then they'll move on to the next thing that's popular. It's kind of it's very cyclical like that. It kind of like video games. Video games do the same thing. Like, oh, something really big and popular was successful. Let's kind of imitate that same style.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's definitely what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, like we'll get a lot of pandemic movies coming up very soon, I'm sure.
Oh God, are we ever? So yeah, the next one you've seen. I have not seen this one.
Yes. So yeah, the next one is Jakobs Wife, which stars Larry Fessenden and also the lovely Barbara Crampton.
Oh, nice. She's getting around, huh?
Yeah, she is definitely getting on a lot of these interesting horror films, and she's had that amazing resurgence ever since You're Next, which was the first movie she came back for in over, I think, 15, 20 years. And then since then, she's just had this amazing resurgence. And like you said before, like I think her as an actor, I think her acting skills have just gotten better as she's aged.
Yeah, and Sander, I get that you love Barbara Crampton and that no one can say a bad thing about Barbara Crampton. Her acting was not that good when she was younger compared to now. And that is not an insult to Barbara Crampton. That is a compliment that she has been able to develop her acting skills. I'm not saying she was a bad actress when she was younger. She was just relying on her looks. And why wouldn't she? She was beautiful. And that's what mattered in that time frame.
Well, and she was also, like, I think before she got into horror films, was a soap opera star. So that explains a lot of her acting style from back then.
Absolutely. And you know what? Her looks were marketable.
Yeah.
She made money on her looks. She made money on going topless. And I 100% respect and support that. Like, that's how she was making her money. But it wasn't her acting that people were going to go see, okay? No one was watching Barbara Crampton because they thought she was such a great dramatic actor. But watching her now in films, I really believe her characters that she plays. I think she's smart with the characters that she's casted in, with the exception of that constable that she was the Irish.
In the Sacrifice.
Yeah, like she was fine. Like she wasn't horrible or anything like that. But you know, when We Are Still Here, like she was fucking phenomenal in that film. And You're Next, she was great in that too. And it's really exciting to see her come back, still be beautiful and be talented. Like to have it both. I think that just speaks to her being more than just a pair of boobs, you know? And I think that's really awesome. Yeah,
I have a lot of respect for her for even coming back and doing this again. And but yeah, like this movie, it's very interesting because it seems like it would have been right up my alley because, for one, I'm a big fan of Larry Fessenden and a big fan of Barbara Crampton.
Oh, yeah.
And the makeup effects were done by the guy that did We Are Still Here's effects.
Oh, nice.
But there was something missing from the story, and this is the other part that should have sold me. It kind of focuses on relationship.
Okay.
and a struggling relationship in a way. And like I thought the movie was good, but I wasn't as blown away as I was hoping I would be. I'm kind of leaving it like being skeptical because I'm not wanting to spoil what the movie is about for the most part.
Well, it has a pretty high rating on Letterboxd. It's sitting at a 3.1.
Yeah, I would probably give it about a 7.5. Like
Oh,
I
okay.
did
That's
enjoy
pretty
it.
high.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was kind of hoping to be higher on it, like because I was kind of excited for this movie. But yeah, it was enjoyable. But it was I would say it's the acting of Larry Fessenden and Barbara Crampton that carried this film more than anything else.
Well, that's exciting. It's a 98-minute runtime. Pretty high praise on Letterboxd. Decent praise from Scotty. It's available on iTunes, Google, Vudu, YouTube, and Microsoft Store. What do you recommend the rental price, Scotty?
I would say this is worth like the $5 style rentals.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd be honest, like, because yeah, I think it was just like released on VOD straight up, like you were saying. And yeah, I'd say it's worth like a $5 rental. It's a good movie, and it's a quick paced film, so it doesn't like last too long and like overstay its welcome.
Okay, good to know. I will check it out probably then. It sounds like
Yeah,
it's worth it.
I recommend you watch it. You might even like it more than I do, but like yeah, there was something that just didn't hit for me to make it like a 8 or 9 out of 10.
Awesome. The next one is Well, the Wolf's Away. So this is a foreign film. It's a Spanish film. So I kind of was hoping that this would be last year's Werewolf, and
Oh, okay.
It's not. It has young kids in it, which the similarity is. It is a very well done film. This was a 2017 film that just got a mainstream release in 2021. And I think the reason why is because it's a long film. It's 123-minute long runtime. And I think this is just a film that got looked over. I think this was a film that kind of, it is a little bit slower, and maybe people were like, oh, it's slow, I'm not going to watch it, it's not going to be something I'm going to like, blah, 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 blah. And it is really well done. It is definitely a slow burn. There is a lot of character development. The payoff may not be what everyone likes, but it's pretty high up on my list. I would give it probably an 8 to an 8.5 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
Something I'll probably talk about at the end of the year. I don't know if it will be on my top 10, but it was definitely well acted. You were invested in the characters. You cared about these kids. These kids all had acting chops. And it's available on DirecTV, Pantaya, and Pantana Amazon channel. So one of those specialty Amazon channels.
Wow, I never even heard of that one.
I guess it's a new one. So if you're going to rent this, I would easily say a $3.99 to $5.99 rental. If you like slow burns, if you enjoy kid-centric films similar to The Werewolf and how it focuses on children, or Werewolf and how it focuses on children, then I would check this one out. Yes, Scotty, I think you should watch it when you have some time.
Awesome. I will definitely do that then, because yeah, you know me, I've been looking for more films to watch for 2021, and I'm just not finding things that catch my interest.
I think you could even watch this with friends.
All right. I like watching films with friends.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next one is Death Ranch. This was a 2020 movie that was released this year. It's a 78-minute runtime. And it's basically based upon 3 African-American siblings who are on the run from the police in the 1970s, and they run into some KKK members. It is, wow. I feel like, okay, I really like this movie a lot, and it's not because of the political messages that it shares, but the political messages that it shares, I feel like people are going to have a better time understanding because it's in the 70s. But I think the deeper meaning behind this movie is that nothing has fucking changed from the 70s.
Yes.
That there is still people that believe, and we still very much have Ku Klux Klan members. But that isn't rubbed in quote unquote your face for the people that are ultra sensitive to that kind of stuff. It's just a really good, gory kind of, what would you say, survival?
Revenge. And I will say, like, low budget revenge, but low budget done really well.
Fuck, like they didn't spend a lot of money on their sets. They didn't spend a lot of money on their costumes. But what they did was they were like, let's make sure our practical effects are done fucking well. And they were.
Yeah, because this almost reminded me of shot on video style movies from back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Like just it had the way that grungy feel to it.
Yeah, like
Which
it was
made
just
sense.
yeah, it fit perfectly, and it felt like the '70s exploitation style horror film. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I was really impressed by like just the quality of the film for being so low budget, and then yeah, just like you were saying, the topic that is still fucking relevant today.
And it is a movie that easily for me could win low budget of the year.
Yes.
And maybe in my top 10, because I thought that it was so well done. Personally, for me, I think this is a movie that is a hidden gem that people will probably skip over. And yes, some people may not like this film. It may not be your jam, but at a 78-minute runtime, the gore is, if you want gore, you're gonna get some gore.
Yep.
So it's there. If you like watching KKK members get their comeuppance, then it's for you.
Like, made me smile like a motherfucker.
The plot is very basic, but it is a very emotional movie too. It's definitely, and it captures a piece of the 70s really, really well. Really, really, really recommend it.
Yeah, this is a high recommend from both of us then. Because I thought the same thing.
Let me just check to see where it's playing. Okay, so it is available on iTunes, Google Play, Vudu, Microsoft Store, and YouTube. It is worth whatever rental you pay for this. 110%. This will definitely be one that will be an underdog this year that is worth checking out.
Yep, and this is definitely one that, like you're saying, pay any price, and I recommend, especially for these super low budget films, pay any price you can to rent it. Help these guys out because they deserve the money for this film.
Absolutely, no, I couldn't agree more with you. Yeah, and I guess with the next one, should I leave this one to you, Scotty, to talk about?
Nope, because I never finished it.
Oh, well, yeah, you shut it off.
Yep.
That tells you how much Scotty liked it. So this one is called The Boonies. It is a 2021 film. It is a 90-minute runtime. It's based on a group of dudes that go out camping for their bachelor party and run into cannibals, which is a really unique concept.
So fresh.
That no one's ever tried to do before. But that being said, it's okay. It has a 2.7 rating on Letterboxd. This was clearly someone's first attempt at filming and directing and writing. The acting is what you would expect for an indie type film. I think it's also really important when we talk about indie films, people understand the acting quality behind indie films. And we're not saying that indie actors are shitty. They are just working with slightly less material. Rebecca Reinhardt is currently filming a movie with Rob Millo. And they also made a movie called Embalmers. I work with Rebecca on the Slumber Party Massacre. And I would argue that Rebecca's a great indie actress, but they're working with less stuff. And I think we kind of sit back on our big mighty horror chairs sometimes and we're like, oh, stupid low budget, the acting sucked, everything sucked. And that's fine. If you don't like indie films, you don't have to watch indie films. No one's going to put a gun to your head and make you watch indie films. But it takes a lot of balls to go out and make a movie. And I think with the Boonies, they tried. I will 100% say, because I sat through this movie, they tried. There was one woman at the end who I was like, she's got some acting chops. And it's a shame that she doesn't show up till the end. She's the main antagonist. And I was like, man, she'll be in other shit. Like someone's going to see her in this and go, this person is able to convey whatever emotions we need effectively. Do I recommend this film? Well, Scotty shut it off. How far into it were you, Scotty, when you shut it off?
I made it to about the 40-minute mark and decided I had enough. Honestly, though, that is coming from someone now that my time has become very precious on what I watch because I don't have the option to watch. Like, if I was at work and watching this, I probably would have plowed through it, no problem, because I would have just left it on in the background and while I'm doing other things. But being at home, watching it, I'm going, I don't have time for this. Like, it just wasn't enough for me. Like, it wasn't holding my attention and kind of getting on my nerves.
And that's fair. So what if we were doing an indie horror spec? Like our episode was just strictly on indie horror. Would you have continued to watch this?
Yes.
Okay. So that Scott, thank you, Scotty, for backing up my point that I was making. This is not a film that I think most people are going to love. But if you have a thing for indie horror and you like seeing indie stuff, and maybe you're a indie horror director yourself and you want to get an idea of what other people have done, I would say this is worth your time. If you are not like that, then I probably wouldn't bother. You're probably not going to enjoy it.
And I just want to be clear, like, because you know me, I do love certain indie films. This one was just, I think it was the story itself that I just
Well, it's atypical, right? Like there's nothing super unique about it. And I think you put it perfectly. If I could put this on at work and have it playing in the background, sure. But with the limited time and the access to 2021 movies that you and I are both blessed with, through screeners and Shudder and Prime and Netflix and VODs, like there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
We're getting theatrical releases this year. You know, there's no shortage in films. And when you have to be a little bit more selective, films like this are going to be pushed over to the side. And there's a reason why. You know, they're not as good. But do I think this was better than other indie films like The Resort? Absolutely. I 100% think this was more love and energy and time put into it. But yet again, you've got to really dig indie films a lot. So if indie films are for you, this is available on Fling in both Canada and the United States, and YouTube in Canada.
Okay.
And finally, the last one. I think you've seen this one.
Yes.
All right. So I'll let you bring it in then.
All right. So the next one is For the Sake of Vicious. It's a weird title, but the vicious part definitely fits. Yeah. I can't remember. I don't think this was a Shudder exclusive. I think this was just a VOD one.
Yeah, it's VOD.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get into the plot because the plot just kind of goes batshit crazy and other people get involved and it's very strange. But like I have to say, like I enjoyed it. Like it was just kind of fun unraveling what the hell was going on between these characters and like the mystery behind it all. And the over the top violence in some of these scenes was just like, for me who loves the gore and stuff like that, I was just kind of like grinning ear to ear because like, yeah, there's some just ridiculous violence in this movie. And like, I would say the acting is all pretty good too. Like it's strong actors for the most part. And yeah, just, I would say just a kind of fun roller coaster of a movie to get through because it's easy to watch. The plot isn't confusing. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Yeah. It reminds me of 12-Hour Shift with how crazy the plot was.
Yes.
Did it not give you that 12-Hour Shift feel?
It really did.
Right? So if you watched 12-Hour Shift from last year and you enjoyed it, you may like For the Sake of Vicious. I didn't really get the ending, but I got the rest of it. And I think there's some really good wondering who did what and if people are guilty of what they're being accused of. There's some really good, like you don't really know exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done. It's an 80-minute runtime and it has a 3.0 rating on Letterboxd.
Yeah, I'll say it goes by pretty quickly. And one thing I will say is about the whole who do you believe? It's the storyline kind of plays the whole each side has their own story.
Yes, very much so.
Very interesting how it's played out.
It is. It's very interesting. I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought it was a really fun film. I don't know I don't think it'll be on my top 10.
No, I don't think it'll be on mine either. It might be in my top 20.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, there's still a lot of films to come this year, right? And we're getting more theatrical releases this year. So, but I don't regret my time with this. I think that, this was obviously a more expensive film that was made, more money, more budget put into it, great special effects, short time, 80 minutes. I don't think you're going to waste your time with it. It's available on Amazon, iTunes, Vudu, Google Play, and YouTube. So $3.99 rental, $2.99 rental, Scotty, what would you say?
Yeah, I'd put it in the $3.99, $5 rental. Okay. Like somewhere around there. Like it's a fun watch for a Friday night type movie.
Yeah, I would agree. I definitely think it would be a fun little, and it's short. Like it's 80 minutes long, which I like short.
Yeah, so you do
in my movies. Just to be clear.
Just to let everybody know. just the movies I want short.
What I like. Super important about what my needs are. So we're gonna move into older movies, which we have a whopping 2.
Well,
to talk about here today.
We should call it "You Are Going to Move into Older Movies."
Well, you saw one of them.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
So you could talk about that. You've seen both, actually. One's one of your faves.
That is very true. I mean,
right?
It's just not something I've watched. Like, I just haven't watched an older film recently, besides for our end of our show.
Our show. The work we do for you guys here on Friday Nightmare.
Yep.
It's hard when you're Scott and you're a playboy. Scott was out at a bar last night, just so everyone knows. Scotty.
Yeah, I didn't get to talk about my bar life.
Because I didn't want you to rub it in my face. I'm just kidding. How was the bar last night, Scotty?
It was fun. Had a few drinks, got to chill outside on a patio with a little fire cooking next to us. And yep, had some met up with some coworkers and had one of my friends with me. And yeah, it was just a all around good night.
I just want to know, was the fire as hot as you? Being a smoke show? Did you turn to your date and be like, this fire's hot, but you know what's hotter? Smoke Show Crawford.
Yes.
This is like a line that would have been said in American Pie.
Yeah,
that's
right.
How bad that line is. And that's how bad American Pie is when you watch
is it hot in here, or am I just a smoke show?
Speaking of hot in here, so May, the movie 2002, I reviewed it. Well, because there's a scene in there, right, that kind of plays on this.
Oh, so that's true.
Yeah, right. I'm not just trying to get you to stop talking about yourself. Like, I actually had a lead into. Yeah. I actually have a lead into. So May was a movie that I watched for the Summer Party Massacre. And I had never seen it before. And Anna Faris is in it, which proves to me that Anna Faris is the same fucking character in every movie she's in. Like, she's like one-dimensional, which is fine. She's funny. And Angela Bassett Bennis. And she was great. It's a really good film. It's basically about an outcast and how she eventually gets her revenge. But there's a scene where she brings this punk guy back to her apartment. And he tells her that he's getting hot, so he has to take off his shirt.
Yes.
Right? But then he's like, oh, I'm still hot. Do you have any ice that I can put on my nipples? Like, and I just thought that was the funniest shit. Like, I was like, and then he goes to her ice box and he finds something else there that's not ice. And or freezer. Ice box, because we're in the 1920s. The ice box. Anyway, I enjoyed it, and her character, like, you do feel sorry for her. You definitely feel sorry for her. I feel definitely Rent-A-Pal and Patchwork took some inspiration from this film, which is fine. I think Rent-A-Pal's better. I will tell you this now. I like Rent-A-Pal a lot more than I like May. I felt a lot more for the character in Rent-A-Pal than I did for May. But, and it was more because I didn't get how May's transformation happens. Like
basically how she snaps and all of a sudden is confident.
And all of a sudden she's like super like, coy. And I was like, I don't really fucking buy that. But I did like the love interest in it. I liked him a lot.
Jeremy Sisko?
Yeah, I liked him a lot. It was a fun movie. I'm sad I missed it in 2002. We gave it a 5 out of 5 on that show, and I think it totally deserves it. It's a really good movie. Yeah,
it's like I said, it's one of my favorites, and it's probably because I kind of like in Rent-A-Pal, I can relate to May as like I could the character in Rent-A-Pal.
You also have dead frozen cats in your freezer?
Yes. No, just the whole being kind of a weirdo and feeling like an outcast.
So you go on dates and people ask to take off their shirt and then put ice cubes.
I need to put ice on my nipples. It's getting hot in here.
Funny. I can see why you would feel that way, but it doesn't sound like you were ever an outcast.
No, I mean, like, there was before, like, I would say my 8th grade to sophomore years where I felt that.
Okay.
And then my junior and senior years when we were known for our parties.
Well, that's when you became.
That's when I morphed into Smokeshow.
So after you saw Heredity, what did Tim say you did in the parking lot? Anyway, listen to Horror for Dummies if you want to hear what Smokeshow does in the parking lot after seeing the movie Heredity.
And if you also want to know
it's almost like they were there watching you.
Right? And it also listen to that episode because they tell you what exactly a Scott Crawford is.
Yes. So moving forward, we expect everybody to coin that same phrase.
Yes.
They're just so jelly.
They are.
They're like, I wish we could get rid of Heather and then we could have Scott all to ourselves. And they like sit there with their like Aussie stuff and they drink Foster's beer.
Yeah, and Tim punches dolphins.
No. And what else did they do? That else is really, and then they have tea time. And then they put another one on the barbie.
Yeah, they put another shrimp on the barbie. And they like to say, good day, mate.
Good day, mate. And they call each other mate all the time.
Yep.
Like, Tim, Heather.
Tim
I'm so mad. I'm going to go watch Jaws for the 15th time today.
And then I'm going to go punch a seagull.
And I'm going to pretend that the shark's eating you. I'm just kidding, Tim. That episode was pretty jokes. Like, it was, they were really funny when they made fun of you. So everyone, please listen to Horror for Dummies. They're an awesome podcast. And if you want to listen to someone else make fun of Scott besides me, It's a thing.
It is, and I think that was the Power episode.
I think, yeah, it was the Power episode, and they do a great review of the Power too. Probably because it was the first time I agreed with them. I'm like, oh yeah, you guys have a point.
Right.
And then the next one is Martyrs, which you just rewatched recently. I was not prepared for how violent this was going to be. Especially that opening scene with the family. I was like, what the fuck? French film. I think that sums it up the best. Motherfucking French film.
Well, and it's one of the French extreme films too.
They're like, oh, you fucking uncomfortable? How about now? You fucking uncomfortable? How about now? You fucking uncomfortable? How about now? You're fucking uncomfortable? That's what this film is. It's just like, how far can they push things? And we saw the unrated version. I can't, the rated version.
The rated version.
I can't imagine what the unrated version looks like.
Yeah, that's like because you said rewatch for me, but this was a first time watch for me.
Oh, I thought it was a rewatch. Sorry.
Nope. I've been holding off from watching it because I've been waiting for the unrated version.
Right.
But the unrated version is out of print and going for a shit ton of money, and so I just never got around to it. Then I said, "Fuck it, let's watch it." Because little spoiler for what's coming up at the end of our show for our Out of the Dark segment, we're going to do a spoiler-filled review on this movie. So we watched it, and like I finally forced myself to watch it, and yeah, this is an unrelenting assault on the senses, like the way only French horror can tend to do, apparently. And I was expecting way worse because I've had it built up in my head, but that is not to say this movie was not fucking hard to watch.
Whatever. Scott was like doing what he did after Heredity after watching this movie. During, actually.
Smokeshow had a Scott Crawford.
He was like, oh man, I want that to be my life. How can I get someone to do that shit to me?
Oh God, no.
Oh yeah.
No, hell no.
Martyrs, hold my fucking beer. I'm coming for you. So we'll get into more of that later. Our Martyrs experience, different experiences we had completely. What we've been listening to. So why don't we break into that?
All right.
So I've continued down my trash. Fucking Spotify. It's become a problem. Because what happens is I listen to one of these like podcasts and it's all from the Parcast network. And then they recommend another one during it. And then I download that one. And it's becoming an addiction. So today I'm going to talk about female criminals. So this is a Parcast Spotify original, and it has 213 episodes, and it focuses on female criminals. So women who have committed crimes. It tells stories from their birth to the crime being committed, the trial, and what has happened to them afterwards. It is dramatized tellings, but they do use a lot of factual stuff because at the end of each episode, because now I've let it play out to the absolute ends, usually just like once the story's done, I'm like, all right, that's the story, click. I don't listen to their thank you for listening and blah, blah, blah. But when I listen to it, they've actually been using sources like news articles. They've actually used court reportings as well as books that have been written, and in some cases interviews. So they are, getting relevant information. They're not just making shit up from the seat of their pants. So one of the most recent ones I listened to was Yolanda, who killed Selena. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Right? So it talked about that woman's life story and how that fateful day at the day's end came to be. And it's a really good true crime story podcast if you enjoy learning about female killers and why they kill. And there's a little bit of psychology stuff put into it as well. They do some research studies on it. I highly recommend it. It is a little bit brain candy, but sometimes we need some brain candy. So you can find that on Spotify. We'll include the links to it, but yeah, check it out.
Nice. I'll say I do love that you're going through all these types of podcasts.
Oh man, it's so trashy. It's like the Lifetime's podcast. That's what I'm doing right now.
Oh, I love it. And the podcast that I am going to be talking about is a side project podcast that kind of became its own thing from a video game podcast I used to listen to called Kinda Funny Games. The side podcast is called In Review, a Kinda Funny podcast. And it's the main host is Tim Geddes, and he has a slew of the Kinda Funny Games crew just join him different times. So like depending on the movie, we'll have a different couple of co-hosts. But the reason I'm bringing this up, because they're not horror, they just talk general movies for the most part. But one of their most recent episodes, they covered Mortal Kombat!
Get over here! And Scott, when he's by himself in the car after Heredity, finish him!
Yes!
Flawless victory!
Flawless victory. Fatality. But they ended up going through, like, they obviously talked about the 2021 Mortal Kombat and did like a spoiler-filled review of it. And then they went back and talked about the first Mortal Kombat movie and the second Mortal Kombat movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and then ranked them. So, like, I won't give the rankings away or anything like that, but I thought it was just a really great episode. And you could, since they're all video game nerds, they were all talking about all the in-depth detail of history of Mortal Kombat as well.
Saying, "Get over here."
No, I think that's just you.
I love that line. Get over here. It's so good. It's like Scott goes into these long tangents about actually Reptile was actually a reptile if you played the video game in 1997, and I'm all like, I like Reptile because he can go invisible.
Yeah.
I liked Mortal Kombat because there were scenes where from the video game, like the pit, and I could play in the pit, and I saw them fighting in the pit, and I was like, I like that. That would be that's going to be my review on Controllers Up, Cards Down. And you'll be like, well, actually, I really enjoyed Kano, and I thought it was really accurate how his character was. And that was really nice to see. And I noticed that the lineage, and I didn't even give a shit that the main guy wasn't in the fucking comic book, or sorry, in the video game. I didn't give a fuck. Who cares?
Yeah, I did. I cared.
Stop being nerds, Mortal Kombat people. We didn't need another white guy leading the fucking pack, okay? Don't worry. Johnny Cage is going to show up eventually. Johnny Cage.
I just think he would have been just a better personality.
No, he wouldn't.
But we'll get into that
Cole
later.
was a bitch, and we needed him there, okay? We needed Cole there to be a whiner.
I mean, you're not wrong, because that's pretty much what he did. But
right,
him in his gold shirt. But anyways,
that was a very nice gold shirt.
Right.
Maybe like his kid will get some fucking powers.
Maybe.
She seems to be more like gutsy.
Right. But yeah, we'll save our thoughts on this movie for Controllers Up, Cards Down.
So listen to our podcast, and you can hear me say over and over again, "Get over here." And you can hear Scott be like, actually, I remember in the 2007 version of Mortal Kombat. So yeah, check it out.
And have fun listening to Heather make fun of me because of the nerddom that I go into.
Dude, I'll be like the odd man out on Controllers Up. Controllers Up, Cards Down podcast. You guys will all be like actually having these debates, and I'll be like, I like the fact there was fireballs. Do you guys know there was a part where someone had a laser from their eye? That's cool.
And I'm starting to notice a trend here when it comes to what we've been listening to. I'm silent going, oh, that's nice. I like the way you're talking about. And when I talk about my podcast, you're just like, blah.
You know this.
I know.
We're
33
fucking episodes.
I know. I love it.
Like, I don't respect you. Everyone knows it that listens to the podcast. You get me this really nice gift, and I'm like, Gremlin sucks. Like, it's,
it's our dynamic.
But you stay, Scott.
I do. I like the abuse.
It's like that Pearl Jam song. I'm lying, she's in love with him. Can't find a better man. Only it's like, we can't find a better podcast partner.
Can't find another Heather.
Well, you probably could, but yeah.
Can't find a better Canadian.
Yeah, you probably could. Anyway, did you want to say more about this podcast? Sorry.
Basically, I just want to say, go check out In Review, a Kind of Funny Games podcast, because they do a great job of reviewing, but they're also pretty damn funny, and it's a good group of them, and they have great chemistry together because they've been on so many different podcasts together because they have multiple different shows that they do. But yeah, if you want to listen to a bunch of nerds just talk about movies, kind of like what we do in a way, then yeah, enjoy. I think they do cover horror films once in a while, but I think they just cover movies just in a broad topic.
Coolio. So they're like double edge, double bill.
Yes.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Thank you for sharing, Scott.
Oh, you're welcome. I like how you're being polite now.
I know. Because Gary Hill will be like, Heather bully Scott. I'm like, I know, Gary. Like, you talking about it ain't going to change it. I'm not the only one. Listen to Horror for Dummies.
Right. What can I say? I'm just a target.
But the thing is, it's all done with fluffiness and love. The more people talk about you, the more popular you are. You're like our Britney Spears, only you're not like shaving your head.
Actually, well, I am shaving my head.
Oh man, maybe you are like Britney Spears. You're gonna like come out dancing with like a snake and shit. It'll be great.
Hell yeah! Oh yeah! Now that sounds sexy.
So we're going to take a brief break and hear from one of our mini Legion podcast friends. So after these messages, we'll be right back.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little history doll popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was.
How did you watch this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Welcome back. As we heard Scott and I drone on and on earlier, we are going to talk about Prom. Prom night, everything is all right. All right, but we're not doing that movie because we already talked about it in remake. So we had to be a little bit more creative. But I did find this article on why prom, and it is called The Racist History of Prom. But I will talk about prom without putting all that stuff in there, not because I don't think it's important, because I do think that it's important to acknowledge where segregation has occurred. But I want to talk more about the history of when prom started and how it grew so popular in the United States, at least. So when young people began going to prom in the late 19th century, it wasn't yet a dance for high schoolers. Prom, short for promenade, was originally an event for college students in the Northeast that had its roots in balls. Also known as coming out parties, balls introduced young women to polite society and its eligible men, which was what balls were all about. For middle-class white women who may not be able to afford balls, co-ed prom parties for graduating students served a similar function by introducing women to the adult world of manner and etiquette and putting them on display for potential husbands. So yes, super sexist. This shit was going on in the early 19th century, but that's what women were supposed to be. They were supposed to be wives and mothers. So they were putting them on display in order for them to find a man. Early proms were governed by the same rules and dress code as balls. They were racially segregated. For instance, girls were forbidden to wear masculine clothing. Well, I would still argue that there's a struggle with that happening at proms in current day, but that's fine. In the 1920s, white high school students began to introduce proms to their teenage students. Like the college proms, they were meant to teach students how to behave as respectable men and women along gender and racial lines, also excluding Black students. By the time the Great Depression hits in the 30s, prom had become a big enough deal that some high school principals canceled their prom so poor students wouldn't be psychologically wounded. Obviously, there's costs that would be associated with attending these proms, the dress, the hair, all that stuff still stands.
And it gets really expensive, especially for women.
Well, and the limo thing, it's funny, in the movies we all see when there was limos, it's just two people in a limo. When I got limos, there was 10 of us in that motherfucking limo. And we were all paying for that limo. Like, that's how that was working. We were all splitting that shit 10 ways, and it was usually like $300. So yeah, proms really took off in the 1950s when a post-war boom and new consumer market geared towards teenagers made the celebration a mainstay of the high school year, and one that boys should invite girls to, not vice versa. One 1950 advice book for teenagers lectured that girls who try to observe the rights of boys to choose their own dates will ruin a good dating career.
Wow.
You gotta be careful, right? You don't want to ruin that good dating career.
Right.
Gosh. After the Brown versus Board of Education was decided in 1954, white schools in the South actively worked to undermine the Supreme Court's ruling that schools couldn't segregate students by race. And then in the 1960s and 70s, many white schools had integrated their classrooms, began to hold 2 proms, one for white students and one for black students. In the famous case of the Charleston High School in Mississippi, white parents began organizing invite-only proms for white students in 1970, and the black students began attending. In response, black parents organized their own prom for their own kids. Yeah, so prom obviously became a really, really big deal. I can see some pictures here from 1958 from a black prom and a white prom. I'll be real here. The black prom looks like they're having a hell of a lot more fun than a white prom.
That does not surprise me.
People can take a look at this, but the black prom, they all seem to be like mingling and stuff. And the white prom, they're all doing these line dances, walking around in a circle around the room. That looks kind of boring. Anyway.
Typical white people.
Typical white people. Don't have had a good time. In addition to segregated prom, students have also pushed back against the gender rules about prom attire and policies that prohibited same-sex couples. In 1979, 2 students became the first acknowledged gay men to attend a high school prom together in the U.S. Wow. Since then, students have continued to push for LGBTQ inclusive proms where students can take whoever they want to dance with and also dress in a way that doesn't adhere to traditional gender norms. I've seen some real unique outfits that people wear to prom. I think you should wear whatever is comfortable. Obviously, you probably want to not wear things that are offensive, that have, maybe swear words or other things that could be troublesome or racist slurs on them. Probably not a good idea to wear that shit to prom. But I think otherwise, be creative. Why not?
Yeah.
This is your time, right? As schools struggled with the racial and LGBTQ conclusions between the 80s and today's, prom became more prominent subject in the media. A new genre of teen movies like Pretty in Pink, She's All That, and Mean Girls portray prom as a major event for drama romance. Just like in the movies, students in wealthier parts of the country began to take limos to prom, which were increasingly held at hotels instead of schools' gyms. Where was your prom held?
Ours were held at kind of like banquet halls.
Banquet halls? I don't remember. I think I went to only one or two dances that were held at a school gym.
Yeah, like a lot of our homecoming and like just typical regular dances that happened all the time were held at our like auditorium or our gym. But like when it came to prom, it was like the banquet halls and like places that get rented out.
Yeah, for sure. So, but the biggest change to American prom in the past few years is something even recent grads may not have heard of: the prom proposal. Well, you heard about this in high school, so obviously it's been going on for a while. This is much more elaborate than simply asking someone, will you go to prom with me? Prom proposals are usually something that students do if they're already in a relationship and suspect that the answer to the invite will be yes. Like sending their significant other a pizza that says prom or showing off their fire dancing skills. So prom has started off as a way to just match up young ladies with potential husbands, very heterosexual,
right,
very white, finding the love of their life through a dance of a ball, to where it's really become kind of like a social status of who are you going to prom with? What does your dress look like? Are you being unique? Are you not being unique? How inclusive is your school? How non-inclusive is your school? It's really interesting to see the difference of where prom started and where we got to now.
Yeah, it really is. And then obviously with like some of these movies, I wouldn't say any of these movies did it, but like what was it, the Prom Night remake, with like how extravagant that prom ended up being and stuff like that. You see that a lot more in movies now too, where they like completely fantasize like what prom really is.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we'll break into our movies and we'll talk a little bit about them. So why don't we start with our first one?
All right. So since we couldn't do Prom Night, we decided to go with the sequel, Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2 from 1987, which was released May 11th, 1987. Decades after promiscuous teen Mary Lou Maloney dies during a prank gone wrong, she returns as a spirit out for revenge and eager to punish the culprit, her one-time boyfriend, Billy Nordham, who is now high school principal. Evil Mary Lou is perfectly content to kill other locals, and she eventually possesses the body of prom queen contender Vicky Carpenter, which allows her to wreak even more havoc. And so, well, right off the bat, I'll say this is a huge departure from the original Prom Night. Goes a completely supernatural route.
I feel like they watched Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors, and they're like, oh, fuck, you know what?
Yep.
Why don't we just steal a bunch of shit?
Yeah. Pretty much. This movie is very insane with the way it does a lot of stuff and just completely out there.
You're not waiting for Freddy Krueger to jump out at certain times.
Well, that's pretty much what Mary Lou. That's pretty much what Mary Lou was.
Right, the evil fucking carousel random horse that Vicky has in her fucking bedroom.
Yeah.
I really like this movie on a second time watch. This was a second watch for me. The first watch was actually with you, Scotty. I watched
it was
the first time with you.
That was, I think, back in January of 2020.
Yeah, so it's been over a year. So I remember being like, it's okay, but I liked it a lot more this time. I found that I really enjoy Vicky's character. And I really like Mary Lou, to be honest with you. I think she was just ahead of her time. Like, I liked how she was like, yeah, you don't fucking own me. I can be with whoever I want to be with, and I can be with whatever boy I want to be with. And, I liked the see you later alligator. Like, I liked her. I thought she was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I was like, because, like she was in because we didn't really say in the synopsis, but it was from the 50s that she was in. And, like that's like she was using a lot of the 50s lingo, but like she was very promiscuous. She was a very strong woman.
Well, she was very much sexually in charge of her own destiny.
Yes.
And, so what if she banged different dudes? Who fucking cares?
Right.
And she was kind of her own person, and she didn't believe that she belonged to anyone or owed anyone anything. Like when Michael Ironson's been like, we've been going together for a year. She's like, yeah, so fucking what? And she's 100% right. She doesn't owe him sex. Like, if she didn't want to have sex with him, she didn't have to have sex with him. She was having sex with this other dude. You snooze, you lose. Too bad, buddy. Like, I thought that she, looking back at this now, I'm like, yeah, I could get how some dudes would find that bitchy, but she didn't owe him sex because they had dated for a year. That's not a thing.
No.
She wanted to bang this other dude. She could bang this other dude. She could bang whoever she wants.
Yep, and I'll say because the prank was definitely like way over the top, like it is in the 80s, and
totally,
and it was like so not deserved.
Well, and I get that he was upset. Like I would be upset and embarrassed too. She did embarrass him, which is a cruel thing to do. Let's just say, even though she's in charge of her own sexual destiny, that's a cruel thing to do to somebody, and not a nice thing to do.
No.
But I think the prank, I could get a teenage boy getting that angry that would do something that stupid, right? But I do like the setup of the 50s prom. The only thing I thought was weird is they announced her as prom queen, but they didn't announce prom king at the same time, which is what they usually do in every other prom movie I've seen.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird.
Queen and king.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, besides, and that's a minor misfit.
Nitpick.
Thank you, nitpick, misfit, nitpick. The rest of it was fine. I think the setup to prom was good. As I said, I felt the 50s vibe. I liked her dress. I thought it was, really cute. It was awesome. Now I didn't quite get why her stuff was locked in a fucking like
it was locked in a chest, like in some like attic in the school.
Like, why? Do you know why that was? Like, I don't get it.
Well, the funny thing is, like, she caught on fire, so there wouldn't be much of a dress left.
Yeah, like I thought it was supposed to be her cape, but I don't remember her wearing a cape.
No, like that is just probably just some like whoops little mistake that was from the 80s. Like
she wore a cape to the prom and then she took it off, and that was like the cape that they eventually found of her.
Maybe like it still just seems kind of weird that would have been saved. Like and like put away in an attic somewhere.
Yeah, that was, whatever. And that's fine. That has nothing to do with the prom. But I do like the lead up of Vicky and that other chick who's super mad about the prom coming, and she wants to be prom queen, and she's sending out flyers to promote for her to be prom queen over Vicky. And then her friend Sandra kills herself because they think she killed herself, but she was actually killed by Mary Lou. Is it Sandra?
I think that was her name, Sandra. Yeah.
Right. And and this chick is all like, 1 down, 2 to go. I was like, wow, that's pretty fucking cold. Like,
right? Like, I know you want to be prom queen, but goddamn.
Like, it really emphasized the impression that prom meant everything, and that if you were not prom queen, you were not going to be successful.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and out of all these movies, I think this is the one that kind of shows the importance of prom king and queen to certain people. Like where it's like such a huge deal. And like I
agree.
And it to some people, like especially the popular crowd, it is a huge deal for them to be considered prom queen or prom king. But like people that are not like in the popular crowd, none of them really care. Then that's in real life too.
I and I think that was really well done in this film. And I think it ties back to that article of prom being such a elitist event to crown royalty.
It's a popularity contest.
Yeah, it's a popularity contest. And I think that that's really, really well captured. You're right. And that's why this chick so badly wanted to be prom queen, so badly enough that she was willing to pay that guy. How much was it originally? $100?
Yeah, $100 to
fix the results.
Yes. $100 and then BJ.
And then she gives him a BJ so that he will fix the results so she can win. That winning meant that much to her. And I found that really interesting. And I think after reading that article, this film really does sum up the status of prom, even at the beginning where Vicky wants to get a new dress for prom. And her mother is like, no, you already have a dress. You can wear the same one you wore every year.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, already when she said that to her, I'm like, well, that's going to set her apart because that's not what rich people do. Rich people have a new dress every year. And now she's not going to have one. Right. Like, I thought that was really interesting.
And that'll take down her status a bit. Cause
exactly.
She'll be quote unquote the poor person of the group because she didn't go buy a new dress.
Which matters, right? I know every year when I went to prom, I bought a new dress every year.
Yep. I mean, hell, even I went out and got I rented a different tux because we never bought the guys for the most part.
Guys don't usually do that, right?
Yeah, they just rent the tux, which ends up being cheaper anyways.
Well, and really, if we look at what originally prom was for, women were probably more likely to buy a dress because they were being put on show.
Yes.
It's almost like taking a bunch of show dogs out and being like, which one do you want?
That's a very good point.
There's a societal pressure. If we look at the beginning purposes of prom, the hair done, the makeup done, the nails did. I used to have my hair done, but I didn't have my makeup professionally done. The only time I ever had that professionally done is when I got married or I've been a bridal, part of a bridal party. But yeah. Oh, and one time I was in a photo shoot, but otherwise I've never had my hair and makeup done. But now that's pretty normal. Girls get their nails done. They get their hair done. They get their makeup done. It has to match the dress. And I remember I saved up for one dress for prom. And at the time it cost me $200. So this is going back to I don't know, 2000. That was a lot of money.
Yeah. I was because that's probably $350 worth now.
And I remember it was I felt like a princess because it was this beautiful blue ball gown. And I was so excited to wear it. And it was I was like, yes, look at this beautiful. And I had a new dress every year. And my parents didn't have tons of money. It wasn't like we were balling, but no way. My parents knew that there was no way I would have wore the same dress 2 years in a row. Dudes could have wore the same tux and the same suit. And honestly, no one would have noticed.
Right. Well, because honestly, the men's, for the most part, men's tuxedos and stuff, there are only slight differences to them. Almost all the suits look the exact same unless you're going for a different color.
Absolutely, right? And I think that that's really interesting that her mom would deny her the opportunity because she didn't like her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was like the Scott Crawford. Yeah. She didn't like her boyfriend, right? She wasn't digging him because of the motorcycle and he was a badass and she didn't like him. But yeah, I'm just trying to think of what other scene. I thought the scene in the locker room, even though this isn't prom related, where her and her best friend are getting into this fight and they're both butt naked. Yeah. I don't think those were body doubles either. I think they were completely naked. And I gotta say, good for them.
Yeah, because what is her name? Vicky?
Yeah, Vicky.
That was definitely not a body double because it shows her full shot, head to toe, completely naked walking through. That takes some confidence. Especially be on film like that.
Well, or it's just you didn't have a choice and you wanted to be naked as a female in film, right? So
that too, yeah.
Right, confidence too. I agree, but I think also there's some things hey, we need you to do this, and that's how you get the part, right?
True,
because it was a pretty major role when you think about it, right? Prom night 2 was riding off of the success of prom night 1. So you had people that would have seen the first prom night. It had Jamie Lee Curtis in it. It had Leslie Nielsen. It had some pretty big buzzwords. Who was in this film? Michael Ironside, which he's well known. Don't get me wrong, but he's not everyone's go-to, I would say.
Yep. He's a go-to, but he's the only one that's recognizable in this entire movie.
Right. So any other prom stuff that you really want to kind of point out? I guess arriving at the prom when Vicky does the full transition, when Mary Lou's completely taken her over and she kisses her dad.
Oh my God. That was so freaking weird. And then and the fact that her dad's not trying to push her off or anything like that, and he's kind of enjoying it.
Well, I guess because you got the idea that the mother was so frosty, right? And that, I don't know, we see a lot of parent and kid now. Like after Cherry Falls, nothing surprises me.
No.
So, and I did like how Vicky's character was able to make that drastic turn, but I felt like it was a slow burn. Like you saw her starting to speak back against her mother, and then you saw her beginning to kind of talk back to her boyfriend and get upset about things, and then she slaps that bitchy chick across the face, like in the classroom, where you're like, what? Like it's nuts. I thought that was really well done. And then she goes to prom by herself and she's dancing alone without her boyfriend, and no one seems to think that's weird. That was like, but I thought the prom setup was good. It looked like a typical high school prom for the 80s.
Yeah, like
everyone was dressed the same.
Yep, it wasn't overly extravagant. Like it was extravagant for a high school dance, but not like Hollywood extravagant, like just hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars being spent everywhere. And it looked like your typical like high school prom. And I really dug that, and I really dug that the theme of this entire movie, kind of like the original one, is just like focused. Their whole thing is focused on the prom. Everything before the prom that happens, like trying to find someone to go with.
Yeah, everything's about
prom
the
king
prom.
queen. Like it's hyper focused on it, which fits this topic perfectly.
I really like how the 1950s prom definitely looked more of like the girl gets asked by the guy. She's expected to accompany the guy. She wears the guy's ring or whatever the case may be, like very much. And then like, I feel like in the 80s, it was a little more, you show up and you have a good time and we'll see what happens. And like, it just seemed like a different feel to it, that people were on display, but it was a different type of display. It wasn't the same, which I appreciated. And yet again, Vicky is announced as prom queen, which is so random that no one gets announced as prom king, like her boyfriend.
Right.
Like she just randomly goes up there. But that ending scene of where Mary Lou climbs out of Vicky.
Oh, that scene is awesome.
Was really well done. I was watching that and I was like, fuck, like this is pretty good.
Yeah, like it's really cool effects for that time. And I like the fact that the longer that Mary Lou is outside of the body, like she comes out looking like just a burnt up corpse. Yeah. And she just gets more and more flesh on her as she's like just standing out and like getting her powers and stuff like that. And yeah, very Nightmare on Elm Street-ish feel to it at that point.
It was such a Nightmare on Elm Street feel. So I want to see what Craig is the boy. Is it Craig? Yes, Craig. So that's Michael Ironside's son. And he gets chased by Mary Lou into the school basement. And then he thinks that she pretends to be Vicky, but it's not Vicky. And then his dad comes with the crown and puts it on Mary Lou's head. And they flash back to them dancing. So I guess he would have been prom king.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Which why I don't get but then they wouldn't have a plot if they didn't announce it at the same time. And I guess that was supposed to like calm her soul. That was like what we're meant to believe at that scene. Yeah, she got what she wanted.
Yeah, I guess that would be, yeah.
And then obviously Vicky survives. Vicky and Craig go outside. Michael Ironside is there. And probably my favorite scene is where they get into the car with Michael Ironside and that Mary Lou song starts playing on the radio. And he says something like, hang on, hey, great kids, let's ride, or something like that.
Yeah.
And you see the Mary Lou's ring there, and then the eyes change colors. Michael Ironside really fucking fierily delivers that line.
Oh, he does. And like Michael Ironside is just an amazing actor anyways. So like, yeah, but yeah, I did like that little, just kind of like, once again, kind of Nightmare on Elm Street style ending.
Yeah, like I feel like this movie, just watch Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's like, oh fuck yeah, let's just steal shit from that movie.
Yeah.
And make it prom-y. But it definitely captures prom night. Like I think that this captures the entire prom experience of somebody, whether it's, not being able to get the new dress, to who's going to win prom king and queen, or just queen in this case. The actual experience of the 50s and the 80s prom. I think it actually does a really good job. I think Prom Night 2 actually does a better job than the original Prom Night of capturing prom, because really with Prom Night, it's more about the murder that occurs.
Yes.
And the stalking. This, I felt like, was more, the buildup was to be the prom queen. Like that was the overall thing that everyone seemed to want, including Mary Lou. So it was very prom centric.
Yeah, that's a very good point because I didn't think about that from the first film. But yeah, that's totally what this one is about. Is just the popularity contest of being prom queen.
Now, just as disclosure, we did not do prom 3 or 4. Prom night 3 is just a little too silly for my liking. And I think Mary Lou, though absolutely beautiful and very seductive, moves away from the prom theme more.
Yes.
But almost does a a Nightmare on Elm Street thing by then going after a guy.
Yes. And being like head over heels, like obsessed with him in that movie.
And then like getting the guy to do shit.
Yeah.
Like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then Part 4, they just drive by the prom.
Yeah.
Which is why we didn't do that one, because they don't even really go to prom.
Nope. They go to a house and party.
And they just do a couple shout-outs to the first stories and then go to a house and it's a whole different story. It has nothing to do with the first one. It has nothing to do with 2 or 3. At least 2 or 3 do build on each other. I'll give them that. 4 is just like, hey, you know what? We should just continue to make prom movies. Like, it's like they heard that John Carpenter wanted to make a different type of Halloween movie every time.
Right.
It's like, we should do that with Prom Night series. Only it didn't take off.
No. Nope, not at all.
So that's why we're only doing Prom Night 2. Just so in case people are disappointed, we will not be talking about Prom Night 3 or Prom Night 4 in this episode. Maybe one day we will. Maybe
we'll see what happens.
We make no promises here on Friday Nightmares. So let's move to our next one.
All right. So the next one is Dance of the Dead, which was released March 9th, 2008 on prom night. The losers who could not get dates to the dance are the only people who can stop zombies from eating everyone. Very simple synopsis, very simple plot. And though I do dislike the losers who could not get dates. Like, it's just people, they were the outcasts, unfortunately.
They were the outcasts. Like, they were part of the science fiction club or like whatever it was, sci-fi club.
This one is another one that does focus heavily on the prom night, like just the prom itself, like the entire movie.
Yes.
But man, this one had some very freaking funny scenes to it because it's so over the top and ridiculous. Like, I do love that. Like, it involves the teachers a lot more.
It really does. What I really liked about this is you get the setup of the high school. You get the setup of the zombies in the high school in the same way. So you get the opening scene at the graveyard.
Yep.
And like shit going down. And then it pops right over to the high school where there's all these like drama shit going on and like interactions in the classroom and this dude wanting to ask out this chick who just broke up with her boyfriend, who's this popular cheerleader. And these other guys that want to go out with these, you know, like are the one guy whose girlfriend is head of the prom planning committee, who, you know, she's really into prom and he isn't. And then like the sci-fi guys that, you know, can't get any girls to go with them and just want to stay home and watch fucking movies that night or go to like a robotics convention or something like that. I think it does a really good job of setting the stage on the day of prom. And also, is it Rod?
I think
not
so.
Rod.
I cannot remember any of the characters' names.
Kyle. And they have that guy named Kyle who like fights everyone all the time.
Yes.
And his name is Kyle. I thought that was really fucking like,
yeah, because he was the one with like, had, like, what was it, the mohawk or like the,
yes,
like,
he had the mohawk.
Yeah, like, and he was just like this punk dude that's always getting in trouble.
Oh, reminded me of Darren. Hey, Darren, is that you? But I feel like Darren would also give a political social speech while he was doing things.
Right.
He'd be in the principal's office because he started a protest.
Yep, that'd be totally Darren.
And somehow like he would still win because Darren is like the smartest person we know.
Yeah.
Like one day he's going to be on this show and Scott and I are going to be like, what Darren said.
Yeah, I agree.
What Darren said.
I agree with everything he said.
It's going to be Darren talking and us agreeing.
Yep.
But I do enjoy how they set up these characters. It kind of gets you caring about what happens to them. You feel bad for the girl that's head of the prom committee because she's trying to like set up the gym the day of and her boyfriend's not taking it seriously. And then that other guy is all like, Mitch is all like, hey, I just want to see you treated well. Like, you know, those dudes that try to like swoop in. and steal a girl or whatever the case is, or break up a relationship. Well, guys or girls do that too. It's not just dudes. But
I'm trying to think of the name for those types of guys, like, because there's a recent internet name, like they're the yes. But no, like they're always like the incels. Yeah, that's what they're called, the incels.
Oh, that's what they're called. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, because they're like, you can be treated so much better. You deserve to be treated so much better. Hey, why aren't you giving me a hand job? I just told you you're pretty and told you deserve to be better. What the fuck, bitch?
I feel better if your hand was on my dick.
That's what this guy is. And yeah, like the main character, like how she was like you're saying, like she was so focused on the prom committee, and then like her boyfriend is like the total jokester that doesn't take anything seriously,
right?
And who ends up being kind of the hero of the movie, of course. But
it's a good setup. It's all the day of prom, and she fucking cancels on him on the last minute, and then he's still going without her.
Yeah.
And then this other guy picks her up. And did you not think it was funny that he drives her out to like? So this Mitch dude takes this chick, and it was total like parking prior to going to prom. She's like, "Aren't we going to prom?" And he's like, "Oh no, I thought we'd chill here." And he has like beers in the car. I'm like, "Oh man, this sounds like a good night to me."
And didn't he take her to the cemetery?
Yeah, he took her to the cemetery, and then like starts making the moves on her. And she's like, "Just don't mess up my hair," which totally something.
Yep.
I would say too. I'd be like, "Look, I just got my hair done. Don't fuck this up. It cost me fucking $80." And then like he gets eaten by a zombie and shit. And the zombie stuff is like, that's kind of all in between these people that didn't go to prom.
Yeah.
I did find some one-liners of like, how come Kyle didn't go to prom where all the farm animals busy? Like, I thought that was funny. And then he's like, I only banged college chicks. And they're all like, oh, like it was like the dialogue was very teenage centric. Like it really was teenage centric, like promy kind of conversations, and how she uses her shoe to kill one of the zombies, Jules, stabs the fucking zombie in the head with her heels, and she gets mad that her dress gets ripped because that dress was probably super expensive. And everything comes down to prom.
And I do have to say, we didn't really bring up his friend, but his one, I think we briefly brought up, but his one friend who's trying so desperately for the popular girl, and she like is treating him like a friend, but then she's just like, no, I'm not interested. I'm gonna go with this guy instead. Or like when he's going to go ask her, and she's like, oh, well, this one guy broke up with me. What do you think about the lead singer of the band over there? And he's going, oh, I've been showing you like crazy that I'm interested in you and would like to take you, and you're just gonna like ask me, oh, what do you think about that guy? What do you think he'll say? He's like, of course he's gonna say yes.
Well, he didn't say yes.
Yeah,
that was the best scene, is because she walks over to him. She's like, do you want to go to the prom? And he's a total band guy. Band guy. Like, I could see Darren saying this except for the last line that he says. So like, I don't want to go there and do this, and I could listen to my music and do my music. That'd be a Darren thing. Darren would never say to someone, and after the set is done, you can suck my dick. That would never, Darren would never, ever say that. But he reminds me of someone that would have been like, I'm going to get together with my punk friends and have a better party. And damn it, Darren's party would be better than going to prom.
Right?
I 100% believe that. Any party that Darren throws would be awesome. Awesome music, good conversation. And dude has good taste, so I bet you the food and the drinks would be yum yum.
Yes, Darren, we love you.
Darren, we love you. But honestly, when he says that line at the end, and he's like, "And afterwards, after we're done playing, you watch us play. You can suck my dick." I fucking died because her face is like, "What?"
Right.
Like they think there's like this big time band, right? And they have these fucking groupies that are just gonna do whatever they want,
and they're just in the garage, just jamming out and. Like we have to bring it up because this is probably like my favorite character of the entire movie, the freaking gym teacher.
Oh my god,
the Southern gym teacher.
Awesome.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, that was like a former military dude. Like the characters in this are just great. And even though there's a big chunk where we have the whole prom planning piece, and then we have the whole zombie piece, so we have them, locked up in the house as a shout out to
Night of the Living Dead.
And we have, a couple of scenes they stole from their zombie movies, but they stole them well, and they fucking made it fun. What was the other thing I was going to talk about that I thought was really clever about the zombie? The garage, the band playing in the garage.
Yes.
Like just as like, and like the zombies love the music, and they play their music, and they like play for 5 hours to hold these zombies off. Like it's just
like we needed the practice anyways.
Like it's a well-written movie. This was a low-budget movie. It first made its appearance at film festivals, and I'm glad that it eventually got picked up because it really is quite funny. Like it really has some good humor and some good writing to it. But when they eventually get to prom, so they realize that all the zombies are heading to prom and they're worried that all the students are going to die. They get there and they realize that all the students have turned into zombies anyway.
Yep, like they were already too late, and
they were already too late. But then they are like, okay, we got to blow up the school or whatever, and they do this whole elaborate plan. And the gym teacher's working with them to help get it done. And they drop the basically the bomb, the thing that sets off the bomb, and like a thing of potato chips, and him and his girlfriend. So the two main characters, I guess you could say, because I didn't actually think they were going to be the two main characters at first. I thought the other couple were going to be the main characters, but they were kind of secondary.
Yeah, they were.
Right. They sneak in and he tries one of the cookies and he's like, you know what, babe, you did a really good job on these cookies. The prom looked like very much a high school prom. Like, yeah, everybody was zombies and shit, but it looked very much what you would expect from.
And all the zombies look nice, all dressed up.
They did, and they looked like teenagers. I will give this about this film too, even though it's not our teenage angst one. These guys looked like teenagers.
Yes,
they all looked like they would be that age, except for Kyle, who was supposed to look older, who did look older. Like, they were like, oh, he failed a whole bunch of times. And
I was gonna say he's the high school dropout that keeps coming back. That deal,
right? Like he did look like he was older, and I thought them fighting in their prom stuff was cute. I thought the couple that ended up hooking up at the end, the popular girl that turns into a zombie and the guy stays with her, and they end up like
turning into
making out.
Turning into zombies, eating each other while they're making out.
Like it was just a really fucking fun night, and how they get out of prom and peace off in the school bus at the end of it, and the ones that survive, and the band plays that real slow song, and it focuses in on the main couple dancing. Yeah, it's one of those movies that it's a great, first of all, as a zombie film, it's a different type of zombie film.
Yeah.
It really is, and I give them credit for that. And as a movie that captures prom, I think it does a really good job of capturing the buildup and then a little bit of the prom happening at that time.
Yep, because like there is a little bit of where Hello Mary Lou was pretty much like the entire movie is about the prom. This one is about the prom, but then there is that little break in between where they are just like getting chased by the zombies and they're not anywhere near the prom and not focused on the prom.
Yeah,
but that's
absolutely
that's like the only thing non-promish besides them in their prom outfits.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. So overall, would you say a pretty decent prom film?
Yeah, I'd say like it definitely covers prom really well. There's only I think one on this episode that really doesn't, but we'll get to that.
Well, that's just not a good film in general. So why don't we get to the next one before we get to that gem that we're going to talk about here on Friday Night Nurse?
All right. So the next one is probably my favorite of the four, and that is Cabin Fever 2 Spring Fever, released August 21st in 2009. As students prepare for their high school prom, they have no idea a flesh-eating virus is spreading via a popular brand of water. Holy freaking shit, this movie is bananas.
Man, this one is better, and I'm going to say it's better than the original Cabin Fever.
I agree with you.
For one, you like the characters way more.
Yes, like especially Noah Sagan, the main guy. I freaking love him, like in every movie he's in. And like in this, once again, this is another movie that everybody looks like they're in high school, like except for maybe the main girl's ex-boyfriend. He looks a little older.
Yeah, but I would agree with you. Everyone looks like they're high school students. And I thought it did a really good job of connecting to the original Cabin Fever and bringing it into a school. I had honestly avoided this movie because I heard it was shit. This is a shitty movie. Yeah.
No, this movie is great.
I don't think it's shitty at all. I think it's better than the fucking first one. I really do. I think it's a better movie.
Like, it's like how we were saying in our messages back and forth about this movie. Like the first one's really silly. Like it goes completely off the rails partway through. This one is silly, but also it takes itself a little more seriously, I think, and is a little more grounded in reality than the fucking first movie.
I found the characters more affable. Yes. In the first one, I was like, oh, that's too bad. Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, like I think the only one you cared for in the first one was Ryder Strong.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's shitty. But in this one, I was fucking rooting for a bunch of them. I didn't want them to get sick.
Yeah, like even like the ancillary characters that get offed early in the movie, like you felt bad for them. Like the girl, like the
young lady that makes out in the pool.
Yes, like like what happens to her, I felt so bad for her. Like everything.
She was a nice character. You actually felt for her. Yeah. And that was the thing about this movie. You actually cared about these kids, and you were like, I was rooting for the main characters. I was like, I was sad. There were parts of this where I was sad. I was like, oh man, fuck, that sucks. Like, you know, and where Dance of the Dead was just fluffy and funny. And yeah, some characters die and shit. And you're like, oh, that's too bad. But you're not like upset about it. But I was like, fuck, man. Like, and I think some of the dialogue here was just so real. So when he gets into the fight, so it's, what is it? Noah. When he gets into the fight with that guy's ex-girlfriend, or that girl, the girl that he likes, ex-boyfriend, because he hears that he's going to ask her to prom.
Yes.
Like, that was a pretty real scene. And when him and his buddy are sitting at the back, so his buddy's name is Alex, are sitting at the back, kind of like shooting the shit while they're dissecting the frog. That was real raw teenage talk.
Oh, it really was.
Like, it really was quite fucking funny. It was clever. I felt like I was watching two teenage boys shoot the shit.
Yeah, like it even like portrayed like the friends like I had, like because I had like the guys that were like, oh man, like we're not going to prom, we're gonna stay home and watch we're
gonna play Magic.
Yeah, no. But no, we're gonna watch this cannibal movie that was banned in like 14 different countries, and it's gonna be so cool.
God, was that not like every fucking horror movie fan that you've ever heard of?
Yes, I was gonna say, I'm like, I know friends like that. Like that was probably,
yeah, we do.
Like, and that would have pretty much been me if I didn't actually have a girlfriend. I probably would have stayed home, like went to my friend's house and watched some messed up horror films.
Right? Like, it was just, there was some fucking killer lines. And even when he, like, that buddy gets a BJ from that chick that he's consoling.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, so you want to go to prom? She's like, I got to work as a hostess at my job. And then I'm like, I don't think she's a hostess.
No, she sure is hell not.
Right? But anyway, even that line was like, it was funny. It was fluffy. It was good. Him walking his friend home, his longtime friend, they're talking about their futures. And this is where it got to me. This kid was super smart and got into this awesome college, and he had plans to be a doctor. Like, that conversation, like, honestly, this is too good to be a fucking sequel, because that conversation made me endear to these two characters.
Yeah, and then the very real conversation that he has after the fight that happens at prom with the ex-boyfriend, with her outside, and how he just fucking snaps and just says, you know, I don't see how you do not see that I am head over heels in love with you.
Or she's like, and he's like, fuck you for, you know, you could choose. And I was like, honestly, I was shocked. I
he's
love
like,
the dialogue.
fuck you for choosing him and continuing to choose him. Like, he's like, you are smarter than this. Like, yeah, the dialogue was just raw, and I loved it.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Like, you bought into these two main characters so much so that I felt dread when the bottled water came to the school. I was like, when they started using it for the punch. So when the young lady who eventually is like targeted to be bullied.
Basically the prom king is going to like seduce her just because his buddies paid him to.
Right. And they knew that he had a crush on her. Or she had a crush on him, sorry.
Yeah, she had a crush on him.
She's making the punch, and I'm like, fuck, no. Like, no, don't put the water in there. Like, and then she drinks it, and I'm like, no, don't do it, because she looks beautiful. She's all done up, and then Rick comes over, and Rick starts, like, flirting with her, and she's so, like, taken aback, and then they go to the pool, and they have sex. And
this is the scene where I was like, this is where the girl would probably not do that, jump in the pool with her freshly done hair from the prom.
No, she probably wouldn't, but I think because she liked this guy so much,
she was willing to.
And I want to give credit to this woman doing the scene. She was a heavier woman, and I don't think that should matter, but it does matter. And society can be very cruel to people who don't look a certain way. And I want to give this actress a lot of props, and I also want to give this filmmaker a lot of props for showing that every body is beautiful.
Yes,
and exactly. I shouldn't have to say that, but we are still a place in society where we do need to say that.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to acknowledge that piece of it, that I thought that was really cool.
Because I thought the exact same fucking thing watching this. Like, it's very impressive that like they did this and it was what,
in a classy way. They didn't make fun of her weight.
No.
They weren't insulting her. And even how he acts towards her, she gets sick because of the water. He gets out of the pool, and then he gets worried. He sees her go under, and he goes back for her.
Yeah, which I didn't think he was actually going to do. Like, I thought he was just going to be a dick and be like, oh, fuck you, and leave you. I'm like, no, he actually comes back and grabs the freaking net to like try to pull her out. Unfortunately, you know, what happens to him and falling and cracking his skull. Like, it's tragic for both of them, but like, I like you said, this movie does a great job with the teenage characters and the teenage angst once again, like in this movie.
Oh yeah, the teenage angst is great here, and the prom buildup is great. Like the whole like the last minute prom thing, and like even when Cassidy goes to the prom last minute, she looks like it was last minute because her hair really isn't done. It looks like the same.
Yeah,
she would have been able to get a hair appointment. She kind of threw on a dress and she's like, all right, here I am. Here we are at prom. Haha, the punch is there, and the teachers are all fucking weird and shit. That's fine. But like it really did a good job of capturing what prom would look like. And then when they go out and have that fight and there's the army shows up and that dialogue is great, and they go back into the school and then the massacre starts happening, or when she's in the bathroom and she hears that girl crying.
Oh man, that
scene was hard to watch.
Yeah,
I like this movie went from all jokes and one-liners and funny shit to that scene, and I was like, and we're giving spoilers in this section, so I don't know if she had a miscarriage or if it was also the virus or if it was both.
I think it was both. Like, I think it was a miscarriage because of the virus.
And it kind of tied into girls getting pregnant and having their babies at prom. That has happened.
Yeah.
And, Cassidy seeing this young woman bleeding out, and you see a trail of blood to the garbage can. She's kind of in what looks like a dress, but it's obviously been bled into, and she's crying and asking for help. I can imagine that happening in different proms. Yeah. Not obviously with the flesh eating, but like having your baby at 17 years old and putting it in a garbage can because you don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Right. I honestly, like, that got super heavy in this film. I did not see that coming for fucking Cabin Fever 2. Like, I did not see a scene like that coming. And it was so fucking well done.
Yeah, there are like certain things in this movie where like it goes from just like, haha, gross you out, make you puke, blah, 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 blah. Oh, we're going to be very serious about these certain things. And make you very uncomfortable. Like like Ty West is the director for this, who did House of the Devil and several other good horror films. And yeah, I think this was like his first feature-length film. And man, he did such a phenomenal job directing this. I want to figure out who the writer was for this too, because the dialogue is just key to this movie.
Absolutely. And it does capture the prom well, and side things that happen at prom. Like, it captured side effects of prom. Like the guy getting fucking violent and beating up that other dude because his girlfriend went with her best friend to prom. And of course, like, they eventually escape the prom after they've basically bombed the entire school, killed the entire school. John cuts off his arm to try to get rid of the infection.
Yep. Well, we didn't even talk about his poor friend who got the BJ. Like, what happens to him? Like, that scene was just heavy and sad too. Like, because...
And like, he knows that it's a skin disease, and he's trying to get his buddy to not touch him so he doesn't get it. And...
Oh, man, that scene was just heavy as shit, too, because they were, like, best friends and just, like...
Super well done.
Yeah, like, because I've seen this a long time ago, and back then I was like, this movie's just gross and funny, ha, 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 ha. Rewatching it now, I'm like, damn, I forgot about some of these very heavy scenes in this film.
This made me think, so, sorry, Scott, but when we do lists, right? We do list episodes for Patreon.
Yeah.
I think we should do a list episode, sequels that are better than the original.
I like that idea.
Because this, spoiler, will definitely be on my fucking list.
Yeah.
Like, this movie is, I can't believe it took me this long to watch it. I just think it's, I don't think it's the best movie of all time, obviously not. No. But if we're looking at the Cabin Fever films, I just think the characters, the capturing of prom, the capturing of the teenage relationships around it are so good.
Yeah, like the characters in general are just so well portrayed. The teachers are even well portrayed, a little bit on the hokey side. But I mean, it even still has a little bit of the silliness from part one leak into it with the deputy, the party man, and how he all of a sudden takes this virus seriously and like starts freaking out and like trying to escape the quarantine with his buddies. Oh my
God. And the conversations, like, we could get into a whole other rant of the conversations that he has about sashimi being the ultimate pussy. Like, it is some of the lines he says is just fucking like mint.
Oh yeah, he is freaking hilarious.
Right.
But yeah, like, I know I haven't talked much about the actual prom aspect of this, but yeah, it does focus on it, and it focuses on a lot more of the kind of like in Dance of the Dead, focuses on a lot of the behind the scenes prom committee stuff, focuses on like the preparation for the night of, where like you see the girl making the punch and getting everything ready there while she's already dressed up and ready to go. Decorating's happening, and then the prom happens, and then everything else happens involved in the prom. And actually, this prom was actually held at the high school.
Yep, it was.
So it must be just kind of like because it was a small podunk style town. So I'm wondering if it's maybe those types of schools hold their proms at the high school because it's cheaper.
Absolutely. I totally think that's exactly what happened here. But no, this is a really solid movie. It represents prom well, and it's just a good movie overall.
Yeah, like I said, this is the best one out of the 4 that we've got going, I think, for this episode.
Now, let's talk about a movie that's
the masterpiece of them all.
Yes, that I apologize for, because I was the one that found this film. And I just suggested it because it was a 2020 release. And I thought, well, it's the only one that focuses solely on prom. And that was a mistake. And I am sorry. But we'll talk about it.
I will say, before I even jump into this, there is at least one thing that this movie does that none of the others have in a surprising way.
Okay, I like to hear that, because I feel like I failed us. So I look forward to hearing,
especially with especially how it ties into your research you did. But we'll start with the movie we are talking about is Killer Prom, which was released April 19th, 2020. After losing her mother in an accident, a teenager and her father welcome a distant cousin into their home. Hoping to claim the family as her own, the psychopath hatches a devious plan to recreate the prom she never experienced. All right, before we jump into this movie, it is a Lifetime movie. And oh boy, is it a Lifetime movie.
Oh, is it ever?
Oh my God.
Is it ever?
Now, before we jump into just how awful this movie is, I will bring up the one good point. And that one good point is it ties into our episode, or at least ties into the research you did, which is the prom proposal.
It does.
It actually shows the prom proposal. It shows the
prom proposal. It does. Thank you, Lifetime.
You did one thing right.
You got one thing going on.
However, this movie does not focus on the prom. It focuses on the idea of the prom.
And previous proms.
Yeah, and previous proms. But oh boy, I don't even know where to begin with this fucking movie.
Let's begin. So this movie sets the stage that this woman, we're gonna give the Coles Notes because this movie is really shitty. This woman is jealous of her cousin because her cousin and her, a couple years apart, they went to the same high school. Her cousin was prom queen. She met her husband, who is a successful doctor now, at prom. They were prom king and queen. And she feels as though that she has always kind of been in her cousin's shadow.
Yes.
So she decides that she wants her cousin's life. So she gets her cousin to go on a boat with her randomly and pushes her off the boat and kills her. So 7 months.
Oh, did you know the mother died?
That's the mother died.
Did you know she died? Because the movie doesn't. Sure. The movie doesn't explain that at all.
No, never. We never find out what happened to the mother. There's never a reference to her dying, ever. And the reaction from the father of her being dead is like, "Oh yeah, my wife died." Like, fucking sucks. Like, if this was a murder mystery, you'd be like, the husband for sure did it. The dude showing zero emotion. Like, it was like, he was like, yeah, the pizza came and I didn't really like it. Like, it was so fucking, anyway.
Give it 1 out of 10 stars. My wife died. 1 out of 10 stars.
Like, it was so bad. Anyway. So 7 months later, this cousin decides that she's going to come live with this family. So she gives the excuse that she's taking her real estate exam or something out there, and that she'll come and help take care of the kids. And, you know, the husband's like, oh yeah, we're still getting adjusted. It'd be so great to have family, because this is his wife's cousin.
Yeah.
So he's still viewing that her as like, you were related to my wife. She comes out there. Of course, there's a young lady and a little kid, a little boy, and the young lady is getting ready for her prom. So prom is coming up. Her mom's not there. And these kids seem to be adjusting pretty fucking good to losing their mother tragically 7 months earlier.
Wait, anyway, her mom's dead?
Scott, stay with me for this excellent plot.
Wait, I didn't know her mom was dead, though. I'm just
the movie is based upon the cousin feeling like she never had the prom that she was meant to have. So she wants, you know, the dress. So Hannah, who the little girl is, or like the teenager, really wants to go to prom with her best guy friend. He asks another girl because he got this mysterious text saying that Hannah's not going to go to the prom, so don't bother asking her.
Yeah,
which was
like
sent by the mean popular girl.
Yep, of course you got to have like the snooty little preppy girl doing that to her best friend.
And her cousin shows up, and of course her cousin's very sensitive to this because you get the impression that her cousin was the one that was rejected in high school, which I doubt because this woman is very beautiful. I'm sure she was beautiful as a young woman as well. And the only line I thought was funny was that she walks over to the girl that's antagonizing Hannah and says, you need to be nicer to my cousin. And she's like, or what? You're going to tell my parents? She's like, no, I'm going to take your body and dump it somewhere where no one will find you.
Yes.
And I honestly thought that line was actually pretty funny. Like that has allowed this movie to get at least a 1 star for that line, because I thought it was like, she was like, no, you little fucking bitch, what I'm going to do. And I thought that was clever. I don't know if you thought that was clever, but I thought.
Well, the line itself was, the delivery of it.
Oh, the delivery was painful.
The delivery of everything this woman said was painful.
Very painful. The main Hannah is played by the girl that was the lead in Slack. I'm glad Slack didn't take this movie as the best of what this young actress could do.
Yeah.
Because I think she definitely has more acting chops. And I usually brag about movies being Canadian. This one's Canadian. And I haven't brought it up till now. Lifetime movies are filmed in Canada, and this was filmed in Ottawa, Ontario, unfortunately.
Canadian pride right there.
Canadian pride. So basically, long story short, the cousin lives through Hannah's prom experience. So eventually Hannah gets this boyfriend. Her friend becomes her boyfriend. They're going to go to prom together. She takes Hannah dress shopping. She buys the exact same dress that Hannah wants. And she's setting up to have this prom night at home with Hannah's dad. So Hannah's going to leave to go to the prom. And the cousin is going to recreate this magical prom night with Hannah's father.
Yes, because she is obsessed with her cousin's father.
Like,
her
so obsessed
cousin's husband.
That she buys prom magazines and creates a checklist of like the perfect hair, the perfect dress, the perfect date.
Let us not forget the psychotic jealousy that runs rampant through her whenever another girl
the horror piece of it. That's right. Scott, why don't you talk about the horror piece of this?
Let us not forget that, this woman is like so obsessed with the ex-cousin's husband, the cousin that died, just in case you didn't know. The mother died.
The mother died.
Yeah, just so you know. The movie doesn't tell you. Just gotta tell you this. But but yeah, she like just pushes the woman down the stairs because it was the guy's secretary who was like
gorgeous, by the way.
Gorgeous.
Everyone was supermodels in this movie.
Oh, and
smoking hot people everywhere.
In the house they lived in.
Oh my god, the mansion. Oh my god.
Good lord. But yeah, just like the way she just like acts like a freaking psychopath, like whenever this woman was around, and then oh my god, like psycho jealous to the extreme. Also a flaw I gotta bring up, or not, like, well, the movie itself is a flaw, but
the whole production was a flaw.
But the very beginning when she's talking to him on the phone and she's like, yeah, I'm taking my real estate exam, and then she gets to the house and like looks up real estate exams while she's already living there. It's like, okay, you are so dumb. Wouldn't you have done this and prepped before you even came out here to prepare for any lies that you're making? You are such a dummy,
dude. And then like he calls at one point, he's like, what are you doing? So they have this housekeeper who is this older woman who acts like a mother to these kids. So she's the one that gets them to do the homework, and of course the fun cousin's like, you don't need to do your homework, it's fine. And I guess she somehow finds out that this housekeeper is a recovering alcoholic.
Yeah, because she finds the AA coin.
And like, is that what it is?
Yeah.
And then she like spikes her drink with a sleeping pill, so she sounds like she's drunk. And
no, she wasn't even sleep. It was like a fucking Drano or something, because it was like something like cleaning liquid that was up on the shelf.
Oh, that's what it was. And then like she, like the dad calls at one point, and she's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, just looking up my real estate license," and it flashes to the screen, and it was like, how to like signs of intoxication, and she's trying to like match the chemicals that she can use to make the woman look like she's intoxicated. Like, it's honestly just fucking ridiculous.
Oh, it's so stupid. And and then the woman gets in trouble for drunk driving. Okay, so when you do the breathalyzer test, you're gonna show up drunk because you drank cleaning solutions. I don't think that. God, this movie. I
know. Like, honestly, this movie was just. It was just ridiculous. Like it was, yeah. There were parts where I was I'm so sorry, Scott. Because I had selected this, and this was my fault.
I was excited to watch this though, just because I was like, oh, this sounds so cheesy and dumb. I'm all about this. And then it started, and I'm going, oh fuck.
Like I was like, and Scott watched this with a friend, and I really hope I didn't ruin the friendship.
Nope, she just thinks you have bad taste in movies. No.
Yes, I would think the same thing. Tell her that she's going to be the mom and I'm going to be the cousin, and I'm going to talk to myself the entire time. And the worst part is this cousin narrates everything she's doing.
Oh, and everything's a fucking narration. As she's typing it in, I'm going to look up real estate exams. As she's typing and looking up real estate exams, like, thank you, movie. We didn't realize what she was doing.
It was horrible. And like, I've seen some Lifetime movies where I'm like, you know what? It's a Lifetime movie, but it's okay.
Yeah, this
wasn't even that. Like, this was just dreadful.
And it never, ever made it to prom. Never. Like, the only prom we've seen was the prom she threw on for her drug knocked out, the husband knocked out, that she puts a fucking corsage on, or puts a corsage on her wrist and fucking puts the one on him.
Oh yeah.
And he wakes up all confused, like, what the hell? And then it's like all decorated for prom outside on their patio.
And that's she's like, and we'll be engaged at the end of this. And then meanwhile, the daughter has been picked up with a limo with one other kid. Her and her date are in a limo alone. Never would happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, unless they were on their way to pick up more friends, but that's not the case.
Right. And anyway.
Oh, and then the conversation that she has in the limo with.
Oh yeah, the mom calls of the cousin.
With the mother of Sienna, the main character, the killer, and the mother is just like, oh yeah, she's crazy. It's like, you're the fucking mother. Why would you? What? Like, you're just like, oh yeah, she's crazy. I would be very careful around her. It's like, maybe you'd be like, oh yeah, she's crazy. You should call the cops, or I'm gonna call the cops for you.
Yeah, like, and then she's like, no, we got to turn the limo. I got to go home. And of course, like, the kid's like, well, I guess I'm going with you. She's like, you don't have to. Where else is the kid gonna fucking go? He's in the limo with her. Anyway.
Oh my god.
So they go back and they find that Sierra's tried to drown the father because, of course, he's rejected her prom proposal and this reenactment of prom, and then being prom king and queen in her head. And she shoves him into the pool, and his daughter gets there just I can't even get through this with a straight face, and pulls him out of the pool. And anyway, and then she stabs the boyfriend who came in to help, and then she's crying at the end. It gets taken away, and yeah, and then a couple weeks later, they throw a fun prom for Hannah in the backyard, because she missed out on her prom night, and everyone's okay. Everyone deals with trauma in this movie super well. Like, everyone is just like dirt off the shoulder. Traumatic things happen, and I just knew past it, no problem.
Because, the mother died. In case you didn't know, the mother died. And they handled that very well. Like, they just didn't. They seemed fine. Almost like the movie forgot that the mother died, so they had to remind the children that the mother died.
The mother died. Like, it was just anyway. So don't watch Killer Prom.
No, don't do it. It's painful.
Ever.
Oh,
it is like the worst movie ever. But it talked about prom in a way that even after we watched it, we were like, well, this was so torturous. We got to talk about it.
Yes.
Oh.
It's like we put ourselves through it. We have to talk about it.
It's our own fault. Yeah. It's our own fault. I am it's my fault. There's no one else to blame but me. But in all fairness, and I stand by this, I've seen other Lifetime films that weren't this bad. So
no, I was gonna say, like, that's why I was excited, because I actually don't mind some of the Lifetime, like
we saw one with Omar Epps last year that wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it was just fluffy fun.
Like, it was fluffy fun, right? Like, I thought, it'll be like that. It will be fluffy and stupid, and
yeah, that's exactly what I was hoping.
Right, but this was just it was bad.
This was low budget bad, even for Lifetime.
Like, even for Lifetime, it was like they forgot they were filming this one.
Like, I think they just used most of the budget to film in the house.
Yes, they did, and rent that house. I'm sure it was very expensive.
Unless it was someone that owns Lifetime's own house.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe that's it. That's what the Lifetime money's going to. Anyway. Wow. So we were going to originally do My Bloody Valentine, which I did watch. Scott didn't get a chance to watch it, but they talk about a Valentine's Day dance, but they never actually go.
No.
So we didn't do that one. And we were going to do the Prowler, but Scott had reduced time, and I saw Killer Prom, and I'm like, well, it has prom in the name. You know, I assumed there was going to be like the cousin was going to show up at prom and cause all this drama.
Right.
Like, no, that's not what happened. But because we're short on time now, we had to go with this amazing 2020 film. So out of our dark segment is going to be a spoiler review, not a super long review of Martyrs. We're going to be looking at doing different things with Out of the Dark. Because we found that with Out of the Dark, we were trying to do all these like cool, interesting topics, and we'll do that too. Like if, you know, something's hot and going on in the horror community, we'll talk about it. We may do movie reviews. We may do talking about a preview that we saw of a trailer that's coming out. So we'll give, you know, ample notice for spoilers. So for Out of the Dark, we are going to be talking about Martyrs 2008. We will be providing spoilers, not an extensive review, but there will be some spoilers. So if you haven't seen Martyrs, you've been warned.
Yep. Yeah, because this movie, like, it's been talked about a million times, but it's just, we need to talk about it and get it off our chest.
So why don't you go first, Scotty?
All right. So, yep, this film is, you know, notorious, like we've talked about earlier, like for being one of the more extreme of the French extreme films like High Tension or Hot Tension and Inside and Ills and a couple others. But this is the one that I had been holding off on because I've been waiting for the unrated version. I never got a chance to see that, so we watched it for this. And fuck, this movie is very, very heavy. And it's relentless from beginning to end. Like this movie just pretty much punches you in the face and doesn't stop for the hour and 48-minute runtime. Like it is just intense as shit from beginning to end. And I don't even know where to begin, like, but like I guess from the beginning, like with the whole, like, I did not expect that to happen with the main character. What was her name? Lucy.
Yeah.
Walking in the door and just shooting up that entire family.
I think what I got when the parents were involved, and we go further through the movie and we see the torture chambers that the parents had in the house. I felt for the children. I think the teenage son knew.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the younger, was it a daughter?
Yeah.
I don't think the younger daughter did. But I think the teenage son had an idea of what was going on. The beginning torturing scenes, like watching children be tortured is hard enough.
Yeah.
And you know, Lucy becoming friends with Anna and Lucy being totally afraid all the time speaks to the intensity of childhood trauma.
Yes.
Her breaking into that house and killing the family, you feel bad for at first, but as the movie moves along, and I'll give the movie a very good, like, high five for this. I got why she did what she did.
Yeah. Yeah, because, like, I will say, though, I am shocked that the daughter wouldn't know what's going on with,
like, the little one?
Yeah, because...
Okay, yeah, maybe you're right.
Because of the torture... I'll say just because, like, they have literally this torture dungeon in their freaking basement where they have several women locked up.
I guess I just assume that it's soundproof.
I mean, yeah, it could be.
And being a young child, she may not put it together yet. That being said, I could be completely wrong. Like, there's no proof of either way, right? And that's not a big focus of it. I think, to me, the gruesome kill and then the mother or Marie almost surviving, but then dying because Gabrielle
bashes her fucking head in.
Right? And then you see the creature. And it's a psychological manifestation of guilt for leaving the other child behind who was also tortured with her. So that's the child that was left behind. Like, this movie really speaks to abuse. Like, it really does. Like, it's basically like, this is how fucked up abuse is, and you're gonna watch an hour and 48 minutes of it
nonstop.
And that's fine. Like, that's fine. But I think that, you know, I was in a work meeting the other day and we talked about having trigger warnings. And I know people always laugh at triggering, but for people that have been abused as a child, that's a fucking real thing. Okay. Like, it's not funny. Child abuse isn't funny. And I definitely think this movie should probably come with a trigger warning because there is some intense violence in this that may be hard for some people to stomach.
Yeah, like, even for this being rated R, I am shocked what they've shown because, like, the violence in this is very just graphic and intense, and I can't even imagine what they cut out to add back in for the unrated version. Because
when they find the imprisoned woman named Sarah, like,
is that the one with the plating?
That has the plate on her face, and then she's removing the plate, and
oh my god!
I honestly, and I don't care how this makes me sound, I had to look at that movie and go, you know what, like Last House on the Left, they're like, repeat to yourself, it's only a movie. It's only a movie.
Yes.
I had to do that. I'm like, these are actors. This is a costume. No one is actually being hurt. This is actors.
Yes, because like out of all the scenes in that movie, when she's removing that plate, that made me the most uncomfortable and just felt so awful for that poor woman.
And when Anna's being beaten, I had to repeat that to myself again.
Yes.
I had to be like, these are actors. This isn't real Heather. This is not like, and I don't care if that makes me sound whatever. It was hard to watch, and it was violent, and it was very well acted. Like, and that says a lot to the actors, to the directors, to deliver that kind of scene. But it affected me.
Yeah. Like, this is a very, like, it's not an easy movie, no matter what.
No.
Like I had it built up to be way worse in my head, like as in like violence wise, but you didn't need the violence to just feel punished for watching this. Like this just punishes the shit out of you and makes you feel in so many ways. Like none of it's good, but this brings emotions out of you in like such raw power. Like I would like French, once again, the French know how to make you feel like and aren't afraid to show you.
And this movie goes through a different theme at the end. It goes to her being filleted. Anna is filleted.
Yes.
And she reaches the final stage where she enters a state that is euphoric, and she's likened to achieve transience. And the mademoiselle arrives eagerly, and Anna whispers into her ear of what that stage is like.
Yes.
So it's like the idea of pain, and then you have so much pain that you reach an area of euphoric, probably because the pain is ending, I would assume, and your body's shutting down.
Yeah, because it's basically what these people are trying to do. Because this is like a whole freaking like society of people that come to this house, and like they are trying to find the quote unquote martyr because they have found this. They have noticed that there are women, especially, are able to transcend to this by being pretty much on the brink of death and can see what is on the other side. And and
whether that is seen on the other side or hallucinating.
Yes.
From all the pain that they're in, that's, another thing. And so this film, honestly, this film is like a bunch of violence talking about child abuse, the effects of trauma, then to the other effects of trauma, which is believing you can have so much abuse that it becomes euphoric. It's a very heavy film. It's only something the French could do.
Right. Like I have not watched it. I am kind of curious now, but this was remade in an American remake in 2015. And
I hear it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I hear it's bad, but I'm kind of curious to see like, okay, how can you even like compare? Like I don't even know how you even attempted this. I'm almost curious to see how they attempted it.
Right. It has a 1.7 rating on Letterboxd.
Ooh, yeah.
And I think Americans can't hit that rawness that the French can. And sorry, go ahead.
And I think they miss the point too a lot of the time.
Yes. Like this has very much, through the violence, there is a social political message here. There is a discussion about death and euphoria that comes with that. I understand all that. Would I watch it again? Probably not, unless it was for a show or something that I was doing. If you had to rate it, we don't usually give ratings, but we'll do it for the fact that we're doing a review here, unless there's something else you wanted to add.
Not really. Like I think you've pretty much summed it all up. Like this is just like an intense film. Like I don't know any other word to put it, but like this is just intense. And
it deserves a lot of credit for acting and special effects, like the practical effects that are used in this with Elaine and Sarah that's found tortured in that room and her fear. It reminded me of a scared animal. And I think that says to the acting and stuff. Like honestly, whether I found this movie disturbing or not, it doesn't matter. It's well done. And I will give it 100% for that, and those are probably my closing comments on it.
Yeah. What would you rate it?
If we rate it out of 10, I would give it a 10 out of 10. I do feel like this is a solidly made film. I feel like the acting is out of this world. The dialogue is amazing. The practical effects, the directing, the ability to pull the emotion. Content-wise, it was a very hard watch for me. Probably wouldn't watch it again. But if this is someone's favorite film and they can watch it over and over again, all the power to you. It's just, for me, was too hard. But definitely a 10 out of 10 quality made film.
Yep. I'm actually right there with you. I put it on Letterboxd, a 5 out of 5, which would be a 10 out of 10 for me. Because, you cannot deny the professional quality of this film and like the performances behind it and everything done about it. Like it's such a well done film, and it is a very hard subject to watch on screen unfold the way they show it. That Yeah, I probably will never rewatch this. Like maybe kind of like I did with a lot of those French films, is maybe rewatch them 7, 8, 10 years later, just to kind of give a refresher on it. But or like you said, for a podcast. But just to even give like an idea of how intense this film was. My roommate Tim, not big into horror films. So when he knew what like that I was going to be watching some very fucked up films coming up for this next month, he's like, all right, I'm going to be staying in my room during these because I do not want to watch these. However, it was within the first 20 minutes I was watching it, and like I have my sound system and the speakers kick out pretty intense sound. I got up to do something in my bedroom real quick, and all I hear is Tim going, just to give you a heads up, you may start hearing my music from my bedroom, because he's like, just the sound of what I'm hearing from that movie is making me completely uncomfortable. He's like, I'm not even having to watch it. And he's like, I'm already unnerved. He's like, so I'm going to turn on the stereo to drown this out because this is too much for me even. Like, wow.
It's heavy. Yeah. It's heavy, right? And I think that's something that you need to know walking into this. But yet again, I would never discredit someone for loving this movie. I would never discredit someone for disliking this movie, but I can't not acknowledge the quality of the film. Right. So
like, this is a tough film, but like it deserves like praise for its like quality in filmmaking.
So that ends our Out of the Dark segment.
Such a light and fluffy topic at the end.
To go with proms. We really thought about how we could connect this. We have some fun things coming up this month. We're going to be recording our next Controllers Up, Cards Down podcast. Yep. And that will be released soon. We'll be doing also another Legion Patreon special. Yet again, please go to whatever podcast service you use, whether it's Spotify, Podcast Addict, Apple iTunes, and find the Legion Podcast Network and hit subscribe. You'll get all of the awesome podcasts on there. And we will continue to release first on Patreon, our Patreon specials, and still release it on Friday Nightmares about a week or so later. But eventually we will not do that. So please consider signing up to the Legion Patreon.
It's called a tease, people. Give you a sample. Let you taste the goodness that is the Patreon, and then lure you in.
And Scott and I will be having special guests on our Patreon episodes, which makes it even more special. And we'll be doing lots of cool things. Our most recent one was with Mr. Brandon Orlick from the Exploding Heads podcast. And we did top 5 anthologies. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that yet, it's on our page and it's on the Legion Podcast Network. So please download and check it out.
Yep, please do it. It was a very fun episode to record.
And much more happier than this one.
Yes.
At the end. Yes. But the rest of it was fine. So
this one did not have a happy
ending. Scott had a happy ending because he gets turned on by Martyrs. Tim Davis is like, I knew it.
I got a Scott Crawford, Tim Davis.
So is there anything that you need to say before we peace out there, Scotty?
Yes, I do. Heather, will you go to prom with me?
Yeah, yet again, as long as the other things are in place and you don't have that really creepy mustache that you had when you were 16.
Yeah.
If it looks like a caterpillar crawled up and died on your face, I'm not going.
Fair enough.
Your beard and this look that you got now, this is full evolved Smokeshow.
Yes. I have evolved like a Pokemon.
You have. You're like super Pokemon. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys next time. I don't even know what we're doing next time. I don't know. We're doing something good. I forget all the time.
Yeah, well, we're we just kind of wing it.
Yeah, we do. We have lists of things and we talk about it, and then we get on the show. We're like, oh, I don't know what to do, even though we do have a plan.
Yeah. We just don't know what order the plan is going to be in.
We have no idea. It's always like, we'll just see what happens. All we know is we got some cool shit coming out this month, so please check it out. And in the meantime, what do you have to say to the good people, Scotty?
Unpleasant dreams. But also, did you know our mom died?
Prom night.
Everything is all right.
And that's it. We're out.